Tonight we're stepping back in time, not to a grand battlefield or a tumultuous revolution, but to the serene, surprisingly predictable world of 17th century Holland. Imagine the gentle lapping of water against meticulously constructed embankments, the faint scent of damp earth, and perhaps a distant whiff of peat smoke. As you, our intrepid protagonist, embark on a career so utterly devoid of high drama, it might just lull you into the deepest slumber you've had all week. Forget swashbuckling adventures or daring escapes. Your most perilous encounter might be a misplaced wrench or a particularly stubborn patch of algae. You probably won't survive this career in the modern sense, given the historical context, but in terms of your daily stress levels, you're practically immortal. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as you settle in, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You open your eyes not to the glare of a smartphone, but to the soft, diffused light filtering through the small, leaded panes of your modest home in Delft. The year is 1675. The air is cool, carrying the faint, earthy scent of the canals that crisscross your town like veins. You stretch, a slow, deliberate movement, feeling the ache in your back from yesterday's rather vigorous inspection of a particularly stubborn sluice gate. Today promises more of the same, a delightful monotony that is, for you, the very definition of a fulfilling life. You are a canal inspector, a guardian of the watery arteries that are the lifeblood of the Dutch Republic. While others might dream of exotic voyages or grand mercantile endeavors, your dreams are filled with perfectly functioning locks, unblemished towpaths, and the steady, predictable flow of water. Your uniform, if you could call it that, consists of sturdy, practical woolens, breeches, a thick tunic, and a wide-brimmed hat to ward off both sun and rain. Function over fashion is the unspoken motto of your profession, and you embrace it wholeheartedly. Your breakfast is a simple affair: a hunk of dark bread, a wedge of cheese, and a mug of lukewarm beer. The clatter of your wife in the small kitchen is a familiar comfort, a gentle counterpoint to the quiet hum of your own thoughts. She hums a tuneless folk song, her movements efficient and practiced. You finish your meal, wipe your mouth with the back of your hand, and rise. Your bag is already packed: a small notebook, a stub of charcoal for making notes, a measuring tape made of sturdy linen, and a small, well-oiled tool kit containing a few essential wrenches and a hammer. You also carry a small, well-worn pipe and a pouch of tobacco, for those moments of quiet contemplation beside the water's edge. This, you muse, is the true secret of a good life: preparedness and the simple pleasures. Stepping outside, the crisp morning air greets you. The cobblestone street is still damp from the overnight mist, and a few early risers are already about their business. A baker's apprentice hurrying with a basket of fresh loaves, a milkmaid leading her cow through the narrow alleyway. The sounds are muted, a gentle symphony of everyday life. You make your way towards the nearest canal, your boots making a satisfying thump on the stones. The canal water, a deep, murky green, reflects the pale morning sky. A few barges are already moving, their sails unfurled, catching the nascent breeze, or being pulled by sturdy horses plodding along the towpath. This is your office, your domain, and you survey it with a quiet pride. Your first task of the day is a routine inspection of the Oostpoort lock. This particular lock is a busy one, handling traffic from both the main canal network and the smaller waterways leading into the city. You approach it with the meticulous eye of a craftsman. You're not just looking for damage, you're looking for potential damage, for the subtle signs of wear and tear that, if left unaddressed, could escalate into a significant problem. You run your hand along the rough timber of the lock gates, feeling for splinters or rot. You inspect the iron mechanisms, checking for rust or loose bolts. You even lean over the edge, peering into the murky water, searching for debris that might impede the gate's movement. It's a bit like being a dentist for canals. You sometimes think, except your patients don't complain quite as much, or at least not in a language you understand. One time, you recall, a new apprentice, fresh-faced and eager, mistook a particularly large and buoyant log for a stranded whale. He rushed back to the office, breathless with excitement, convinced he'd discovered a maritime marvel. You had to gently explain that, while the canals were indeed full of wonders, etc., scenes were not typically among them. He was a good lad, though, just a little overzealous. You smile at the memory. It's the small moments of gentle absurdity that break up the quiet rhythm of your days. As you continue your inspection, you notice a slight creaking sound coming from one of the lock's wooden gears. It's barely audible, a faint whisper against the background hum of the city, but your ear, trained by years of listening to the subtle language of wood and water, catches it instantly. This is where your true value lies, not in grand repairs, but in preventative measures. You make a note in your notebook, carefully sketching the location of the sound and a brief description. Later, you'll dispatch a small team of carpenters to apply some whale oil, a remarkably effective lubricant, despite its somewhat pungent aroma. Whale oil, for all its practical uses, does tend to linger. You once spent an entire week smelling faintly of the ocean after a particularly extensive greasing operation. Your wife, bless her, simply called it your working man's cologne. Historians still argue whether the Dutch Republic's unparalleled success in canal building and maintenance was due more to their innovative engineering techniques or to the sheer meticulousness of their workforce. Was it the brilliant minds designing the systems, or the dedicated unsung heroes like yourself, ensuring their flawless operation day in and day out? You, of course, have your own thoughts on the matter, though you rarely voice them. It's the steady hand, the keen eye, the willingness to get your boots muddy that truly keeps the water flowing. A grand design is nothing without diligent execution, after all. It's like building a magnificent clock, only to forget to wind it. What good is a clock if it doesn't tell time? You move on to the towpath, walking its length, checking for erosion, loose stones, or any obstacles that might hinder the horses or the boatmen. The path is well trodden, a testament to the constant flow of goods and people. You observe a family on a barge, their laundry strung across the deck, drying in the morning sun. A small child waves at you from the railing, and you offer a polite nod in return. It's a tranquil scene, one you've witnessed countless times, yet it never fails to bring a quiet sense of contentment. You are a part of this intricate tapestry of life, a silent guardian of its smooth operation. The canals are not just conduits for trade. They are also arteries of community, connecting towns and villages, enabling the very fabric of Dutch society to thrive. You spot a small section where a few cobblestones have worked loose, creating a minor tripping hazard. Nothing dramatic, certainly not headline news, but a hazard nonetheless. You mark the spot in your notebook, adding it to your list for the paving crew. It's these small, seemingly insignificant details that accumulate to form the robust, reliable infrastructure you oversee. Imagine if every loose stone went unaddressed, every creaking gear ignored. The system, so meticulously built, would slowly, imperceptibly begin to unravel. It's a bit like trying to keep 1,000 ducks in a row. If one waddles off course, the whole formation starts to look a bit wonky. You pause for a moment, taking a deep breath of the crisp air. The scent of fresh bread from the nearby bakery drifts towards you, mingling with the subtle dampness of the canal. You pull out your pipe, fill it with tobacco, and light it with a small, sputtering flame from a flint and steel. The first puff is always the best, a moment of quiet reflection before continuing your rounds. This isn't a job for the easily bored, nor for those who crave constant excitement. It's a job for the patient, the observant, the ones who find beauty in functionality and peace in predictability. Some people might call it dull, but you call it steady, dependable, and profoundly satisfying. You've never had to outrun a rogue tide or negotiate with a pirate. Your biggest challenges usually involve a stubborn weed growth or a particularly uncooperative lock mechanism. And for that, you are profoundly grateful. The midday sun is climbing higher, casting dappled patterns on the canal water through the leaves of the willow trees lining the banks. You continue your meticulous inspection, moving further along the network of canals that define your daily routine. Your attention is drawn to the water itself. While the public might see a uniform body of water, you perceive its nuances, the slight discoloration that indicates a blockage upstream, the subtle ripple that suggests a minor leak in an embankment, the way certain weeds seem to flourish in areas of stagnation. You are, in essence, a human barometer for the health of the waterway. It's a skill honed over decades, a sixth sense developed through countless hours of observation. You often joke that you can tell the canal's mood just by the way the light catches the surface. Sometimes it's a calm, reflective mood, other times a slightly agitated, choppy disposition. Today, the water seems relatively content, a good sign. Still, you make your way to a section known for collecting debris. Despite regular dredging, flotsam and jetsam inevitably find their way into the canals, stray branches, discarded market refuse, and occasionally a particularly unfortunate goose feather. You scan the surface, noting a cluster of reeds that seem to be growing a little too enthusiastically, almost encroaching on the navigation channel. This is another item for your list. Left unchecked, these reeds could become a significant impediment, slowing down barge traffic and potentially trapping smaller boats. It's the small things, you remind yourself, that prevent bigger problems. Think of it like keeping a pantry organized. If you let one spice jar go astray, soon you'll have a chaotic mess. A fascinating tidbit you once heard, perhaps during a casual conversation with a passing merchant, was that some early canal dredges were powered by human treadmills. Imagine the poor souls, walking for hours to turn the great wheels that scooped mud from the canal bed. It makes your own job, with its emphasis on observation and gentle persuasion of nature, seem rather luxurious. You're certainly not breaking a sweat in that manner. Though to be fair, you do occasionally have to wrestle with a particularly stubborn branch that has decided to anchor itself firmly in the middle of the canal. Those are the days you truly earn your supper. As you walk, you reflect on the sheer ingenuity of the Dutch canal system. It's not just about digging ditches, it's about managing water, a precious and often unruly resource. The precise gradients, the sophisticated lock mechanisms, the intricate network of drainage ditches, it all speaks to a profound understanding of hydraulics, centuries before the term even existed. Historians still debate the precise origins of some of the more complex engineering feats. Was it purely empirical knowledge, passed down through generations of engineers and builders, or were there forgotten mathematical principles at play? You lean towards the latter, The precision seems too great to be mere guesswork. You often wonder if, deep in some dusty archive, there lies a forgotten treatise on water management, written by a brilliant mind whose name has been lost to time. You hear the distant rumble of a cart drawing closer. It's the daily supply wagon, bringing tools and materials to the various work crews along your inspection route. The driver, a burly man named Pieter with a laugh that could clear a crowded tavern, waves as he passes. You exchange a few pleasantries, discussing the weather and the surprisingly high number of ducklings you've seen this spring. Pieter complains, good-naturedly, about the increasing number of geese who seem to view the towpath as their personal parade ground, leaving behind rather unfortunate obstacles for his cart. You offer a sympathetic nod. Every profession has its particular grievances, even canal inspecting. At least your obstacles are generally stationary. You approach a section of the canal where the water appears unusually still, almost stagnant. This immediately raises a red flag in your mind. Stagnant water can be a breeding ground for all sorts of unpleasantness, from insect larvae to foul odors. You pull out your linen measuring tape and carefully measure the depth of the water at various points. The readings confirm your suspicion. The depth is slightly shallower than it should be, indicating a buildup of silt on the canal bed. This means the dredging schedule for this section needs to be moved up. You make a prominent note in your book, underlining it twice for emphasis. Neglecting a silting problem is like ignoring a growing pile of laundry. Eventually, you'll be buried under it. You once witnessed a particularly unfortunate incident involving a new, rather ornate pleasure boat that got stuck in a silty patch. The owner, a pompous merchant from Amsterdam, was beside himself with indignation, loudly declaring that the canals were a disgrace. You, meanwhile, quietly dispatched a team to free his vessel, all the while resisting the urge to point out that perhaps his boat was a little too ornate for these practical waterways. Some people, you learned, simply weren't built for the unvarnished realities of canal life. He eventually got free, but not before his pristine white trousers were thoroughly sullied with canal mud. A small victory for the canal, you thought. Your route takes you past a small, picturesque bridge, its arch elegantly spanning the canal. You stop to examine the stonework, checking for loose mortar or cracks. The bridges are vital links in the network, connecting communities and allowing people to move freely. You run your hand over the cool, rough surface of the stones, appreciating the craftsmanship that went into their construction. These bridges have stood for decades, some for centuries, enduring countless floods and the constant passage of traffic. They are a testament to the enduring power of good engineering and a quiet source of pride for you. You often ponder the lives of the people who built these canals. What were their days like? Did they, too, find a quiet satisfaction in the meticulous work of shaping the land and directing the flow of water? You imagine them, their hands calloused, their faces weathered by sun and wind, working in concert, building something that would outlast them, something that would define their nation. There's a certain continuity to it, a connection across time through the shared purpose of maintaining this vital infrastructure. You are, in a sense, walking in their footsteps, carrying on their legacy. You decide to take a short detour to check on a section of embankment that had shown signs of minor erosion a few weeks ago. The earth here is slightly softer, more susceptible to the erosive power of water. You carefully inspect the reinforcement work that was done, a series of woven willow branches hammered into the bank, designed to hold the soil in place. It appears to be holding well. The young willow shoots are already beginning to sprout, Their green leaves a fresh contrast against the darker soil. Nature, you often think, is a formidable force, but with a bit of guidance and a lot of patience, it can be persuaded to work with you. It's like trying to convince a stubborn mule to move. A gentle push and consistent direction usually works better than brute force. You check your pocket watch, a rather grand name for a simple brass timepiece, and note that it's nearing noon. Your stomach rumbles faintly, reminding you that sustenance is in order. You've brought a packed lunch, more bread, a slice of cured ham, and an apple. You find a quiet spot under a large oak tree, its branches spreading wide, offering generous shade. The gentle lapping of the water, the distant calls of gulls, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, it's a symphony of peace. You unwrap your lunch, savoring each bite. This simple meal, eaten in the fresh air, feels like a feast. You wouldn't trade it for a king's banquet, not with the serene satisfaction that accompanies your work. After your tranquil lunch, you continue your route, heading towards the outskirts of Delft, where the city canals begin to merge with the larger, more agricultural waterways. This transition zone is particularly interesting, as it requires a different kind of vigilance. Here, the canal banks are less formal, often bordered by farmlands and pastures. Your concerns shift from urban detritus to the potential impact of livestock and agricultural runoff. You're not just a civil engineer. You're also, in a very real sense, an environmental guardian, albeit without the grand title. The water must remain navigable and clean enough for both transport and, increasingly, for drinking water in some areas. You notice a section of embankment where a group of cows has clearly decided to use the canal bank as a convenient scratching post. Their robust hides, while providing relief from pesky flies, have unfortunately caused some minor slumping of the earth. It's not critical, but it's a precursor to potential erosion. You make a mental note to speak with the farmer, a jovial man named Hendrik, about perhaps installing some simple fencing along this stretch. A bit of polite persuasion, you found, often goes a long way. Diplomacy, even in canal inspecting, is a valuable tool. Sometimes it's less about asserting authority and more about fostering cooperation. It's a delicate balance, much like trying to convince a cat to take a bath. One historical fact that often crosses your mind is the concept of the polder. The Dutch, of course, are masters of land reclamation, creating vast tracts of fertile land from what was once sea or marsh. The canals are an integral part of this system, not just for transport, but for managing the water levels within these reclaimed areas. It's a testament to human perseverance and ingenuity, turning an inhospitable landscape into a thriving agricultural heartland. You often look out across a polder, observing the network of ditches and canals that drain it, and feel a profound connection to the generations who literally built this land from water. It's a landscape born of necessity and maintained by tireless effort. As you walk, you observe a small group of children playing by the canal's edge, dangling their feet in the cool water. They squeal with delight as a passing barge creates a small wake, rocking their makeshift raft. You smile. It's a reminder that the canals are not just economic arteries. They are also places of recreation, of community, of childhood memories being forged. You've seen countless generations grow up alongside these waterways, learning to swim, to fish, to navigate small boats. The canals are woven into the very fabric of their lives, as intrinsically as the air they breathe. You remember one particularly amusing incident involving a local fisherman who swore he'd caught a mermaid. He brought it to the village square, proudly displaying his catch, which, upon closer inspection, turned out to be an unusually large and intricately decorated wooden figurehead from a long-lost ship. The poor man was quite disappointed, but the entire village had a good laugh, and the mermaid eventually found a place of honor in the local tavern. You've learned that life along the canals, while generally predictable, does offer its moments of unexpected charm and gentle humor. It's a bit like finding a perfectly smooth skipping stone in a pile of ordinary pebbles, a small, unexpected delight. Your attention shifts to the condition of the lesser-used side channels. These smaller waterways, often leading to individual farms or isolated residences, are just as important as the main arteries, though they receive less frequent traffic. They are, in a way, the capillaries of the canal system. You check for overgrowth, for signs of neglect, for any indication that the flow of water might be impeded. Sometimes, you discover a small, illicit dam built by a farmer to divert water for irrigation, a common practice, but one that can cause imbalances in the wider system if not managed. You'll gently remind them of the regulations, explaining the importance of maintaining proper water levels for everyone. It's a delicate dance between individual needs and collective good. A quirky tidbit that often makes you chuckle is the historical practice of towpath fashion. Apparently, in some areas, there was a subtle hierarchy of clothing among the boatmen and their families, with certain colors or patterns signifying their status or the type of cargo they carried. While you don't pay much attention to such fripperies, you do notice the subtle differences in the way people dress along your route, from the rough practicalities of the farmers to the slightly more refined attire of the town dwellers. It's a quiet observation, a silent acknowledgement of the diverse lives that intersect along your watery domain. You, of course, remain steadfastly in your practical woolens, a paragon of understated functionality. You come across a group of engineers conducting a survey for a potential new lock system. They are hunched over maps, compasses, and measuring chains, their faces furrowed in concentration. You exchange polite greetings, and they briefly explain their plans for improving navigation in a particularly congested area. You listen intently, offering a few observations based on your intimate knowledge of the local currents and water levels. They nod, taking your insights seriously. It's a satisfying feeling, knowing that your practical experience is valued by those who deal with the grander designs. Theory is important, of course, but experience, you've found, is often the missing piece of the puzzle. It's the difference between drawing a perfect circle and actually drawing one freehand. Historians still puzzle over the precise motivations behind certain large-scale infrastructure projects in the 17th century. Was it purely economic necessity, a desire to facilitate trade and boost prosperity? Or were there broader social and political ambitions at play, a desire to assert dominance over the landscape, to demonstrate the ingenuity and power of the Republic? You, from your vantage point, see it as a beautiful confluence of all these factors. The canals are a testament to Dutch pragmatism, certainly, but also to a profound sense of communal endeavor. They are a monument to cooperation, built not by a single monarch but by a collective will. You spot a small family of ducks, a mother and her brood of fuzzy ducklings waddling along the towpath, seemingly oblivious to the approaching barge. You gently clap your hands, a soft, encouraging sound to shoo them back towards the safety of the water. They respond with a flurry of quacks and a comical scramble, tumbling into the canal with a series of tiny splashes. You smile. It's a small act of guardianship, a tiny intervention in the grand scheme of things, but it's a part of your duty all the same. The canals are a living ecosystem, and you are its quiet steward. As the afternoon wears on, the light begins to soften, taking on a warmer golden hue. The air grows a little cooler, and the shadows lengthen. You feel the gentle tug of fatigue, a satisfying tiredness that comes from a day spent in purposeful activity. Your notebook is filled with observations, sketches, and notes, a testament to your diligent efforts. You've identified a dozen minor issues, all easily resolved, all contributing to the continued smooth operation of the vast canal network. There won't be any grand declarations of victory or dramatic rescues, but there will be the quiet satisfaction of knowing because of your work, the boats will continue to flow, the water will continue to drain, and the delicate balance of this remarkable hydraulic landscape will be preserved. It's a quiet heroism, perhaps, but heroism nonetheless. The sun dips lower, casting long, distorted shadows across the watery expanse. You begin your homeward journey, retracing your steps along the towpath, but with a different purpose now. Your morning inspections are focused on identifying problems. Your evening return is about ensuring no new issues have arisen during the day's traffic and activities. It's a final sweep, a last check before the canals settle into their nightly rhythm. The air cools noticeably, carrying the faint, sweet scent of newly mown hay from a nearby field. The sounds of the city are more muted now, the clamor of the workday giving way to the quieter hum of evening. You notice a few barges mooring for the night, their lanterns already beginning to flicker to life, casting warm glows on the water. Families on board are preparing their evening meals, the tantalizing aroma of stew or roasted vegetables drifting across the canal. These are familiar sights, the peaceful end to another bustling day on the waterways. You offer a friendly nod to a boatman coiling ropes on his deck, and he returns the gesture with a weary smile. There's a camaraderie among those who live and work on the canals, a shared understanding of its demands and its quiet rewards. One mainstream historical fact that often comes to mind is the sheer volume of goods transported by canal in the 17th century. It wasn't just luxury items. It was everything from peat for fuel to building materials, agricultural produce, and even livestock. The canals were the superhighways of their time, facilitating an economic boom that transformed the Dutch Republic into a global powerhouse. You are a small but vital cog in this immense machine, ensuring the smooth flow of commerce that underpins the nation's prosperity. Without you, and others like you, the gears would grind to a halt. It's like being a traffic warden for ducks and barges, a surprisingly important role. As you walk, you reflect on the quirky tidbit you once heard about canal horses. Apparently, some boat owners would adorn their tow horses with elaborate braids and ribbons, sometimes even painting their hooves bright colors. It was a subtle form of competition, a way to show off their prosperity and pride in their working animals. You haven't seen such extravagance in your corner of the canals, but the image of a particularly fancy horse, prancing along the towpath with painted hooves, still brings a small smile to your lips. It's a reminder of the human desire for flair, even in the most practical of settings. You, of course, prefer the no-nonsense approach, much like a well-oiled wrench that simply gets the job done. You pass by a section of the canal that runs alongside a small park. A few couples are strolling, enjoying the evening air, and children are chasing each other, their laughter echoing softly across the water. The canal is not just a place of work, it's a place of leisure, a backdrop for everyday life. You appreciate these moments of quiet observation, seeing the human element that intertwines with the engineering marvels you oversee. It's a holistic view, recognizing that the canals serve not just economic ends, but social ones too. Historians still debate the precise impact of canal construction on the landscape and local ecosystems. While undoubtedly beneficial for trade and drainage, did the extensive network of waterways disrupt natural habitats, altering the delicate balance of flora and fauna? You've certainly observed changes over your career, some species thriving, others less so. The constant dredging and maintenance, while necessary, undoubtedly disturbs the natural bed of the canal. It's a complex question with no easy answers, and one that often leads to lively discussions among academics. You, meanwhile, continue to ensure the water flows, a practical solution to an immediate need, leaving the grand philosophical debates to others. You spot a small, curious detail, a child's wooden toy boat caught among some reeds near the bank. It's a simple thing, painted bright red, clearly a cherished possession. You carefully retrieve it, wiping off the excess water with your sleeve. You'll leave it prominently on the bank, hoping its owner will return to claim it. It's a small gesture, an act of kindness in your otherwise pragmatic routine. These little moments, these unexpected connections, add a subtle richness to your otherwise predictable days. It's a bit like finding a single, perfectly formed wild strawberry amidst a patch of weeds. A tiny, unexpected treat. As you near the town center, the sounds of the evening market begin to reach you, the distant calls of vendors, the murmur of conversation, the faint aroma of cooked food. You quicken your pace slightly, looking forward to returning home to Jirtej and a warm supper. The satisfaction of a day well spent settles over you, a quiet hum of contentment. There were no emergencies, no unforeseen disasters, just the steady, reliable rhythm of a canal inspector's life. It's a life built on precision, on observation, and on the quiet dedication to maintaining the very arteries of a thriving nation. You consider the profound effect canals had on the Dutch character. Did the constant interaction with water, the need for meticulous planning and communal effort to manage it, shape the very psyche of the people? It's a question that could fill many pipes of tobacco in thoughtful contemplation. Perhaps the famous Dutch practicality and industriousness are partly a byproduct of living in a country where land itself had to be wrestled from the sea, where every inch of progress was hard-won against the forces of nature. You certainly feel a sense of purpose, rooted in this constant, quiet struggle. You pass by the communal pump, where several women are gathered, filling their buckets with fresh water. They chat amiably, their voices a soft drone in the twilight. The water they draw for drinking and cooking is dependent on the cleanliness and careful management of the canals and underlying groundwater. It's another reminder of the interconnectedness of everything and the far-reaching impact of your seemingly mundane work. You're not just ensuring boats can pass. You're helping to ensure the health and well-being of your community. You chuckle to yourself as you recall a rather earnest young man who once approached you, full of grand ideas about building a canal that would reach to the moon. He had elaborate drawings and spoke with great passion, but utterly lacked any understanding of gravity, water pressure, or, indeed, the basic principles of construction. You listened patiently, offered a few gentle, practical counterpoints, and sent him on his way with a polite smile. It's good to dream big, you concede, but sometimes the most impactful work is done with both feet firmly planted on the ground, or, in your case, firmly planted in a pair of sturdy, water-resistant boots. The final stretch of your walk takes you past your favorite local inn, the green dragon. The warm, inviting glow of its windows beckons, and you can already hear the faint murmur of conversation and the occasional burst of laughter from within. Tonight, however, you'll head straight home. The demands of your profession, while not dramatic, are nonetheless taxing in their own quiet way, requiring constant mental vigilance. And there's the promise of Jirta's cooking, a reward far greater than any tavern fare. You envision the comforting warmth of your home, the familiar scents, the quiet company of your wife. It's a perfect end to a perfectly uneventful day, and for you, that is truly delightful. The next morning brings with it a gentle drizzle, a soft, persistent rain that cloaks the city in a muted gray. You don your heavy woolen cloak, its hood pulled low against the damp, and step out into the quiet street. The cobblestones gleam wetly, reflecting the pale light. The air is cool and fresh, carrying the clean scent of rain-washed earth. Today's task takes you to the far side of Delft to inspect a series of smaller, less frequently used drainage canals that feed into the main network. These are crucial for preventing flooding in the lower-lying areas, especially during prolonged periods of rain. It's a different kind of vigilance required here, more focused on water levels and overflow mechanisms. You follow a narrow, winding path that parallels one of these smaller canals. The banks here are wilder, overgrown with reeds and wildflowers, a stark contrast to the manicured main waterways. This is where nature asserts itself more forcefully, and your job becomes one of gentle persuasion rather than strict control. You're looking for blockages caused by fallen branches, for signs of burrowing animals that might undermine the banks, or for areas where the water flow is sluggish, indicating a buildup of sediment. You are, in essence, a detective of dampness, searching for clues in the patterns of the water. One mainstream historical fact that often surprises people is the sheer scale of the Dutch water management infrastructure. It wasn't just canals. It was dikes, windmills for pumping water, sluice gates, and a complex system of internal drainage. The entire nation was, and still is, a masterclass in hydraulic engineering. You often think of it as a giant living machine, with water as its circulating fluid. And you, with your daily rounds, are a vital part of keeping that machine running smoothly. It's like being the diligent physician for a very large, watery patient. As you walk, a quirky tidbit comes to mind, one you once heard from an old lock keeper. He claimed that in particularly severe winters, when the canals froze solid, entire markets would set up on the ice, complete with stalls, skating rinks, and even temporary taverns. Imagine the sight. A bustling market, usually confined to land, suddenly transplanted onto a frozen waterway. You've never seen such a spectacle yourself. Your winters, while cold, haven't been that severe, but the image is a delightful one, a testament to the adaptability and resourcefulness of your countrymen. It's almost like a winter wonderland, only with much more cheese. You arrive at a section where the water seems to be unusually high, almost overflowing its banks. This is a cause for immediate concern. You pull out your measuring stick, carefully gauging the depth. The reading confirms your suspicion, a significant blockage somewhere upstream. You scan the canal, your eyes darting from bank to bank, searching for the culprit. Ah, there it is, a large, waterlogged tree branch, clearly dislodged by the recent winds, has become wedged across a narrow point in the canal, creating a natural dam. You make a note in your book, describing the blockage and its precise location. This will require a team with specialized tools, saws, ropes, and perhaps even a small boat to dislodge. It's not a glamorous task, but it's an essential one. Left unaddressed, this blockage could lead to localized flooding, damaging farmland and potentially impacting dwellings. Your immediate action, your sharp eye, has prevented a small nuisance from escalating into a significant problem. It's a bit like finding a single, errant thread in a finely woven tapestry and snipping it before it unravels the whole thing. Historians still debate the precise role of local knowledge versus centralized planning in the success of the Dutch water management system. Was it the grand designs of the water boards or the accumulated practical wisdom of individuals like yourself, passed down through generations, that truly ensured its efficacy? You, of course, recognize the importance of both. The centralized planning provides the framework, the grand vision, but it's the local knowledge, the intimate understanding of specific water flows and soil conditions, that ensures that vision is realized on the ground, day in and day out. It's like a grand orchestra. You need a brilliant composer, but you also need skilled musicians who know their instruments intimately. As you continue your rounds, the rain begins to lessen, eventually tapering off to a fine mist. The sun attempts to break through the clouds, casting a diffused, ethereal light on the landscape. The air is filled with the sweet, damp scent of growing things. You pass a small farmhouse, its thatched roof glistening with moisture. A dog barks a lazy greeting from the yard, and you offer a quiet whistle in return. It's these small, tranquil moments that make the dampness and the mud entirely worthwhile. You once heard a rather amusing anecdote about a local miller who was so obsessed with the perfect water flow for his mill that he would occasionally borrow water from a neighboring canal, much to the chagrin of the local canal inspector. It led to many a heated but ultimately good-natured argument. The inspector, a stern but fair man, eventually found a compromise that satisfied both parties. It's a reminder that even in a highly regulated system, human nature, with its quirks and desires, still finds a way to assert itself. It's a bit like trying to keep a mischievous kitten out of a milk jug. Sometimes you just have to outsmart them. You arrive at a series of small, manually operated sluice gates. These are typically managed by the local farmers, who open and close them to regulate water levels in their fields. You check each gate, ensuring its mechanism is free of rust and debris, and that it opens and closes smoothly. You also check the water levels on both sides, ensuring they are consistent with the established regulations. It's a constant dance of balancing the needs of agriculture with the overall integrity of the canal system. The sheer network of these small canals and ditches is mind-boggling. It's like a vast, intricate web, each strand playing a vital role. You know this network intimately, having walked every path, inspected every gate, observed every nuance of its flow. It's a landscape you understand with your very feet, a knowledge gained not from books, but from direct, lived experience. This intimate familiarity is your greatest asset, allowing you to anticipate problems before they even fully manifest. You're practically a human GPS, only without the annoying voice telling you to turn left in 100 feet. You notice a faint metallic glint at the bottom of one of the smaller ditches. You lean closer, peering into the murky water. It's a discarded horseshoe, clearly lost by a tow horse some time ago. You reach in with your gloved hand, retrieve it, and place it on the bank. It's a small piece of refuse, but every little bit helps in keeping the waterways clear. And who came? Ows, perhaps it's good luck. You turn it over in your hand, feeling the worn metal, imagining the horse that once wore it, pulling its heavy barge along these very paths. A small, silent connection to the past. As the late afternoon approaches, the skies begin to clear and a patch of brilliant blue appears overhead. The air feels lighter and the dampness begins to recede. Your work today has been largely preventative, identifying potential problems before they escalated. It's the quiet, unsung work that often goes unnoticed, but it is, arguably, the most important. You walk with a steady pace, your boots squelching softly in the still damp earth, carrying the quiet satisfaction of a day well spent, a day where order was maintained and the subtle balance of the watery world was preserved. The following day dawns bright and clear, the previous day's rain having washed the air clean and left the landscape sparkling. You decide to dedicate this day to a more specialized aspect of your duties, inspecting the various water-powered mills that dot the canal landscape. These mills, from grain mills to sawmills, are vital to the local economy, but they also draw heavily on canal water, and their outflow can sometimes cause issues with water levels or introduce unwanted sediment. Your role here is to ensure their operation doesn't unduly impact the broader canal system. It's a delicate balance between industry and infrastructure. Your first stop is a large grain mill, its massive wooden wheels slowly turning, churning the water with a rhythmic splash. You greet the miller, a burly, flour-dusted man named Jarrett, with a nod. He grins, his face streaked with white, and offers you a freshly baked roll, still warm from his oven. You accept it gratefully, tearing off a piece and savoring the simple, comforting taste. These informal interactions are a pleasant part of your routine, building relationships with the people who depend on the canals, as much as the canals depend on your oversight. One mainstream historical fact that often gets overlooked is the sheer variety of windmills and watermills in the Netherlands. They weren't just for grinding grain or pumping water. Some were used for sawing timber, processing spices, making paper, and even crushing oil seeds. It was an industrial revolution on a smaller scale, powered by the tireless forces of wind and water, all orchestrated within the intricate network of canals and polders. You're inspecting a piece of living history, a testament to enduring ingenuity. It's a bit like being a doctor for a series of giant, hungry wooden beasts. As Jarrett describes a minor issue he's been having with debris getting caught in his mill's intake grate, a quirky tidbit pops into your mind. You once heard that some millers, particularly those who operated alongside busy canals, would occasionally employ mill dogs. These were specially trained canines whose job it was to bark at approaching boats, signaling to the miller to adjust their water intake to prevent accidental damage to the mill wheel. You haven't seen one in action yourself, but the image of a diligent dog barking orders at passing barges is certainly amusing. Perhaps your job isn't quite as unique as you thought. Even dogs had a role in canal maintenance. You carefully inspect the mill's intake and outflow channels, checking for any signs of erosion or unauthorized diversions. You measure the water flow with a simple, yet effective, device, a marked stick lowered into the current, comparing it against the agreed-upon water rights for the mill. Jarrett watches patiently, understanding the necessity of your work. He knows that a properly functioning canal system is ultimately in his best interest. Mutual respect, you found, is key to successful inspections. Historians still debate the precise balance of power between the local water boards, who regulated canal usage, and individual landowners or millers. Were the regulations strictly enforced, or was there a certain degree of flexibility and negotiation? From your perspective on the ground, you see both. There are clear rules, certainly, but also an understanding of practicalities and the need for compromise. It's a system that works because it's both structured and adaptable, much like a well-designed ship that can weather both calm seas and unexpected storms. You move on to a sawmill further down the canal, its distinctive buzzing sound audible long before you reach it. Here, large timbers are brought by barge, and the water-powered saw blade slices them into planks. Your inspection here focuses on the discharge of sawdust and wood chips into the canal. While a certain amount is unavoidable, excessive discharge can lead to blockages and affect water quality. You discuss this with the sawyer, a quiet, serious man named Bastion. He assures you he's been using a new straining mechanism, and indeed, the water below his mill seems clearer than usual. You commend his efforts. A little praise, you found, encourages good behavior more effectively than a stern lecture. You recall a time when you had to politely, but firmly, remind a rather stubborn sawyer that his mill was producing enough sawdust to fill a small village. He had tried to argue that it was natural byproduct, but you had countered with the equally natural consequence of blocked waterways and irate boatmen. Eventually, he saw reason, or at least the prospect of a hefty fine, and implemented better filtering. It's a testament to your calm persistence. Sometimes you have to be as unwavering as the current itself. A scholarly debate you often hear discussed among the more learned folk revolves around the true economic impact of these mills. Were they truly engines of prosperity, or did their localized benefits sometimes come at the expense of broader environmental degradation? It's a complex equation involving trade-offs and long-term consequences. You, meanwhile, focus on the immediate, tangible aspects, ensuring water flow, preventing pollution, and maintaining the delicate balance that allows both industry and transport to coexist. You are a pragmatist, not a philosopher, though you appreciate the depth of the questions. Your next stop is a small, relatively new paper mill. This type of mill requires a significant amount of clean water, and its waste products can be particularly noxious if not properly handled. You pay close attention to the discharge pipes, checking for any unusual discoloration or odor in the outflow. The mill owner, a young, ambitious man, is eager to impress you, explaining his filtering processes in great detail. You listen attentively, offering a few suggestions for further improvements. You are, in a sense, a consultant for cleanliness, ensuring that progress does not come at the expense of the precious waterway. You pause for a moment by the canal's edge, observing a flock of geese preening themselves on the bank. They seem unconcerned by the nearby industrial activity, a testament to the generally clean state of the water. You often think about how intertwined human activity is with the natural world in this country. The canals are man-made, yet they have become integral to the ecosystem, providing habitat for countless species of birds, fish, and insects. It's a delicate coexistence, a constant negotiation between progress and preservation. You've learned that the key to effective inspection isn't just about knowing the rules, it's about knowing the people, building trust, understanding their challenges, and offering practical advice rather than just handing down dictates. It creates a collaborative atmosphere, making your job far more pleasant and ultimately more effective. A friendly word, you've discovered, can achieve more than 100 stern regulations. It's the difference between being a rigid rule enforcer and a helpful guide. As the afternoon light begins to soften, you finish your mill inspections. You've identified a few minor issues, offered several pieces of advice, and garnered a fresh roll and a few smiles. It's been a productive day, another quiet victory for the smooth operation of the canals. You head back towards Delft, The rhythmic turning of distant mill wheels a soothing soundtrack to your walk. The world you inhabit is one of constant, gentle motion, powered by water, shaped by human hands, and diligently cared for by individuals like yourself, ensuring its perpetual, delightful uneventfulness. The following morning brings a gentle fog, shrouding the canals in a soft, ethereal mist. The world outside your window is muted, sounds muffled, outlines blurred. Today's inspection takes you to the far-flung reaches of your district, a journey that involves a small rowboat. These remote sections, often narrow and winding, are less trafficked and therefore prone to different types of issues: overgrown vegetation, fallen branches, and the occasional rogue fishing net. It's a peaceful, solitary part of your job, allowing for quiet contemplation amidst the gentle dip and pull of the oars. You arrive at the small boathouse, its weathered timbers barely visible in the mist. You untie your sturdy wooden rowboat, checking its seams and oars before carefully stepping in. The water is still and glassy, reflecting the diffused light, making it difficult to discern where the surface ends and the mist begins. You push off from the bank, the only sound the soft splash of your oars entering and leaving the water. It's a tranquil, almost meditative experience, a true escape from the bustle of the town. One mainstream historical fact that often comes to mind when you're out on the water is the sheer importance of small boats and barges to everyday life in the Dutch Republic. While larger ships plied the seas, these smaller vessels were the workhorses of the internal economy, carrying goods, people, and even livestock along the vast network of waterways. You are inspecting their highways, ensuring they remain clear and navigable. It's a vital, albeit unglamorous, contribution to the national economy. It's like being the guardian of countless tiny, floating taxis. As you row, a quirky tidbit about canal etiquette springs to mind. You once heard that in busier sections, smaller boats were expected to yield to larger barges, with a complex system of horn blasts or bell rings to signal intentions. While your current route is too remote for such formalities, the image of a bustling canal, filled with the cacophony of maritime signals, is certainly a vivid one. It's a reminder of the intricate rules that govern this watery world, rules designed to maintain order and prevent nautical chaos. You, thankfully, only have to contend with the occasional grumpy swan. You row deeper into the mist, the bank slowly emerging from the obscurity. You check for any submerged obstacles, logs, discarded farm equipment, anything that could snag a boat or damage its hull. Your eyes scan the water's surface, searching for telltale ripples or unnatural disturbances. The fog adds a layer of challenge, forcing you to rely more on your other senses: the feel of the current, the subtle sounds of the water, the familiar scent of marshland. Historians still argue about the true effectiveness of early warning systems for canal maintenance. How quickly could problems be identified and addressed in such a vast, decentralized network? From your perspective, it was a combination of formal inspections like yours and informal reports from boatmen, farmers, and even children. The canals were a shared responsibility, and everyone had a vested interest in their smooth operation. It was a community effort, a continuous vigilance that kept the system running. It's a bit like 1,000 watchful eyes, constantly scanning for trouble. You come across a particularly dense patch of water lilies, their broad leaves almost completely covering the surface of the canal. While beautiful, an overgrowth of such vegetation can impede navigation and reduce oxygen levels in the water. You make a note to dispatch a small crew to clear the area. It's a constant battle against nature's relentless desire to reclaim the waterways. You are, in essence, a gardener for the canals, pruning and tending to ensure their health and vitality. You remember a time when you almost capsized your boat after misjudging the depth of a particularly murky section. You'd been so focused on a potential breach in the bank that you hadn't noticed the submerged tree stump until it was too late. You managed to right the boat, albeit with a rather undignified splash, and spent the rest of the day thoroughly drenched. It was a good lesson in humility, and a reminder that even in the most predictable of jobs, the unexpected can still occur. At least no one was around to witness your impromptu bath. As the fog slowly begins to lift, revealing patches of blue sky, the world around you seems to awaken. Birds begin to sing, their melodies clear and bright in the fresh air. The sun, finally breaking through, casts shimmering reflections on the water, turning the canal into a ribbon of light. You feel a deep sense of peace, a profound connection to the natural world that is so intimately intertwined with your work. A scholarly debate that sometimes arises among academics concerns the long-term environmental impact of canalization. While providing immense economic benefits, did the extensive canal network alter natural drainage patterns, affecting wetlands and biodiversity? You, as a practical man, witness both sides. The canals facilitate farming and trade, but you also see how they interact with the existing ecosystem, sometimes in ways that require careful management. It's a constant negotiation, a balancing act between human needs and environmental realities. You spot a discarded fishing net tangled among some reeds near the bank. These can be dangerous, not only for boats but for wildlife. You carefully maneuver your boat closer, and with the aid of a long hook, manage to retrieve the net. It's a messy job, the net slimy and covered in algae, but it's a necessary one. You coil it neatly in the bottom of your boat to be disposed of properly later. It's another small act of stewardship, ensuring the safety and cleanliness of your watery domain. You consider how utterly serene and devoid of true peril your job is. No daring rescues from sinking ships, no chases across rooftops, just the gentle hum of the wind and the lapping of water. Your biggest thrill is successfully untangling a stubborn weed patch, and your most dangerous encounter might be a particularly aggressive goose defending its nest. And honestly, you wouldn't have it any other way. The quiet satisfaction of a job well done, of order maintained, is far more appealing than any fleeting adventure. As you row back towards the boathouse, the morning sun now fully emerged, you feel a sea of accomplishment. The remote canals are clear, any potential issues noted, and the water flows freely. The stillness of the early morning, broken only by the rhythmic splash of your oars, has been a balm for your soul. It's a reminder that even in the most mundane of tasks, there can be moments of profound beauty and quiet reflection. Your work is not just about keeping the canals open. It's about being intimately connected to the pulse of this water-rich land. The week continues its predictable, reassuring rhythm. Today, your focus shifts to the various bridges that crisscross your inspection area. While you do a quick visual check during your regular rounds, today is dedicated to a more thorough, structural inspection of several key bridges. These are not merely crossings. They are vital arteries, connecting communities and facilitating the movement of people, goods, and livestock. Their integrity is paramount. You pack a small, specialized hammer for tapping stones, listening for changes in resonance. You begin with the oldest bridge in your section, a venerable stone arch that has stood for centuries. You run your hand over the cool, rough stones, feeling the subtle textures. You examine the mortar between the blocks, looking for crumbling or signs of water penetration. You tap the stones with your hammer, listening for a dull thud that might indicate a hollow spot or a loose block, rather than the crisp, ringing sound of solid masonry. It's a patient, almost meditative process, a conversation with the stone itself. One mainstream historical fact that often comes to mind is the incredible craftsmanship of Dutch bridge builders. Despite the lack of modern tools and engineering principles, they constructed structures that have withstood centuries of use and the relentless forces of nature. Their knowledge of materials and stresses was largely empirical, passed down through generations of master builders. You are an inheritor of that tradition, a guardian of their enduring legacy. It's like being a curator in a very old, very active museum. As you work, a quirky tidbit about bridge tolls surfaces in your memory. You once heard that in some areas bridges were privately owned, and travelers had to pay a small fee to cross. Imagine the arguments, the haggling over a few coins just to get from one side of a canal to the other. Thankfully, in your district, most bridges are publicly maintained, freeing you from the rather awkward duty of collecting tolls. You're simply there to ensure the passage is safe, not to turn a profit from it. You'd rather deal with 100 loose bricks than a single disgruntled traveler refusing to pay a stover. You discover a small patch of ivy beginning to grow vigorously on one side of the bridge, its tendrils slowly working their way into the mortar joints. While picturesque, ivy can cause significant damage over time, its roots widening cracks and dislodging stones. You make a note to have a crew come and carefully remove it. It's a constant battle against nature's relentless encroachment, a reminder that even the most solid structures require ongoing vigilance. It's a bit like trying to keep a persistent weed out of a perfectly manicured garden bed. Historians still debate the precise methods used by 17th century bridge builders to ensure stability, particularly for larger spans. Was it all trial and error, or did they possess more sophisticated mathematical understandings than previously thought? The sheer longevity of some of these structures suggests a deep, intuitive grasp of structural integrity. You, of course, are simply concerned with their current state of repair, leaving the grand historical debates to the scholars. Your job is to make sure the bridge doesn't become a submarine. You move to a smaller wooden drawbridge that allows taller vessels to pass. These bridges are more complex, with intricate systems of ropes, pulleys, and counterweights. You meticulously check each rope for fraying, each pulley for smooth operation, and each counterweight for proper balance. You also test the mechanism itself, carefully cranking the large wooden wheel that raises and lowers the bridge, ensuring it moves freely and without excessive strain. It's a satisfying feeling when the heavy timbers lift smoothly, revealing the open waterway beneath. You recall a comical incident where a particularly zealous new apprentice, eager to impress, accidentally raised the drawbridge while a farmer's heavily laden wagon was still halfway across. The farmer, suspended precariously in midair, let out a string of curses that would make a sailor blush. You quickly intervened, lowering the bridge and apologizing profusely. The apprentice, red-faced and mortified, learned a valuable lesson about patience and observation that day. You often think of it as a good example of how quickly even a simple mechanism can cause unexpected drama. A scholarly debate that occasionally surfaces is the economic rationale behind building so many bridges. Was the cost justified by the increase in trade and communication, or were some bridges built more for prestige or political reasons? From your vantage point, every bridge seems to serve a vital purpose, connecting communities and facilitating the flow of life. It's difficult to imagine a thriving Dutch republic without this dense network of crossings. They are quite literally the connective tissue of the nation. You spot a small graffiti carving on the side of one of the bridge's stone abutments, a crudely drawn ship with a single mast. It's clearly old, etched into the stone by a bored boatman or a mischievous child centuries ago. You don't remove it. It's a part of the bridge's history, a silent testament to the countless lives that have passed over and under it. It's a small, unexpected human touch in the otherwise stoic stone, a tiny glimpse into a forgotten moment. As the afternoon wears on, you complete your bridge inspections, making detailed notes of any repairs or maintenance required. The rhythm of your hammer tapping on stone, the creak of the drawbridge, the steady flow of the canal beneath you, these are the sounds of your workday, a symphony of structural integrity. You are the quiet guardian of these crossings, ensuring that the everyday passage of life continues unimpeded. There's no fanfare, no grand pronouncements, just the quiet satisfaction of a job done thoroughly and well. You consider the relationship between the canals and the development of Dutch art. Did the unique light, the flat landscape, and the omnipresence of water influence the great masters of the Golden Age? You often see painters by the canal banks, capturing the tranquil scenes you inhabit daily. Perhaps your work, in its own quiet way, contributes to the very beauty that inspires them. It's a comforting thought, a subtle connection between your practical duties and the realm of aesthetics. You make your way back towards the center of Delft, the sounds of the city growing louder as you approach. The setting sun casts a warm, golden light on the canals, making the water shimmer. Your hammer is quiet now, tucked away in your bag. The bridges stand firm, the silent sentinels of the waterways, ready for another night of duty. You feel a familiar, quiet contentment. Another day, another series of careful observations, another set of minor adjustments that ensure the delightful uneventfulness of your world continues. The next morning brings with it a crisp, clear sky and a gentle breeze, promising a day of straightforward inspection along the main commercial arteries of the canal system. Your focus today is on the towpaths, specifically assessing their condition for the constant traffic of horses and pedestrians. While a sturdy towpath might seem like a minor detail, its smooth operation is crucial for the efficient movement of barges, directly impacting the speed and cost of goods transport. You carry a small, sturdy shovel today, useful for clearing minor obstructions or testing the firmness of the ground. You begin your journey at the busiest stretch of canal near the city's main market. The towpath here is wide and well-maintained, constantly used by heavy draft horses pulling barges laden with various goods. You walk its length, your eyes scanning the surface for any signs of wear and tear. You look for deep ruts caused by wagon wheels, loose cobblestones, or areas where the earth has become compacted and uneven. A smooth towpath means less strain on the horses and faster journeys for the boatmen. It's a bit like ensuring a smooth runway for 1,000 tiny, slow-motion airplanes. One mainstream historical fact that often comes to mind is the sheer scale of the inland transport network in the Dutch Republic. While sea trade grabbed the headlines, the internal canal system was equally vital, allowing goods to move efficiently from ports to inland cities and agricultural areas. The towpaths were the crucial ground infrastructure supporting this vast network, enabling the powerful horses to pull incredible loads. You are, in essence, maintaining the very backbone of the national supply chain. As you walk, a quirky tidbit about towpath etiquette resurfaces. You once heard that in some areas, there was an unwritten rule that boatmen approaching from the opposite direction would shout out their cargo, allowing others to gauge their importance or urgency. Imagine the cries echoing along the canal, herring from Enkhuizen, or cheese for Gouda. While perhaps exaggerated, it paints a vivid picture of a bustling, lively waterway, where even verbal communication played a part in maintaining order. You simply offer a nod or a polite greeting, preferring the quiet efficiency of observation. You spot a section where heavy rains have caused a small, muddy patch, making the towpath slippery and difficult for horses. You use your shovel to quickly spread some gravel fro. A nearby pile, leveling the surface and improving drainage. It's a small repair, easily done, but it prevents a potential fall for a horse or a twisted ankle for a pedestrian. These minor interventions, performed consistently, are the true hallmark of effective maintenance. It's like patching a tiny hole in a roof before the entire ceiling collapses. Historians still debate the specific economic impact of improvements in towpath infrastructure. Did smoother towpaths lead to measurably faster journey times, significantly reducing transport costs and boosting trade? Or were other factors, like the efficiency of the boats themselves, more influential? You, from your practical perspective, know that every improvement, no matter how small, contributes to the overall efficiency. A well-maintained path means happier horses, less fatigue for the boatmen, and ultimately, a smoother flow of commerce. It's a matter of incremental gains, each adding to the whole. You pass a group of children playing marbles on a particularly smooth section of the towpath. They look up as you approach, quickly gathering their marbles, unsure whether you'll admonish them. You offer a gentle smile and a nod, and they quickly return to their game, giggling. It's a reminder that the towpaths are not just for work. They are also places of community, of childhood games, of everyday life unfolding. You are a quiet observer of this vibrant tapestry. You recall a time when you discovered a small, elderly woman attempting to push a heavily laden handcart up a particularly steep and rutted section of towpath. She was struggling, clearly exhausted. You, without a word, took hold of the cart and helped her push it to the top, exchanging only grateful smiles. It was a simple act of assistance, a small moment of human connection that transcended the official duties of your job. It's these unscheduled moments of unexpected kindness that often bring the most satisfaction. A scholarly debate that occasionally arises concerns the ownership and maintenance responsibilities of towpaths. Were they primarily managed by local authorities, or did private landowners along the canal also bear some responsibility for the sections passing through their property? From your experience, it's a shared responsibility, often with clear guidelines but also a need for informal cooperation. It's a testament to the collaborative spirit that underpins much of Dutch infrastructure. No single entity could manage it all alone. You observe a boatman leading his horse, speaking to it in soft, encouraging tones. The bond between a boatman and his horse is a strong one, born of countless hours spent together on the towpath. The horse, a sturdy, calm animal, responds to his voice, plodding steadily forward. You appreciate this quiet partnership, a silent testament to the efficacy of the towpath itself. It's a beautiful dance between man, beast, and waterway, all working in unison. You find a stray horseshoe discarded by a horse some time ago. It's a common sight, a small relic of the countless journeys made along these paths. You pick it up, turning it over in your hand. It's worn smooth in places, a testament to the hard work it endured. You consider leaving it but decide against it. It's still a tripping hazard, however small. You tuck it into your bag to be disposed of later. Even the smallest details demand attention. As the afternoon light begins to lengthen, you conclude your towpath inspections. Your shovel is now a little muddier, and your notebook contains several new entries outlining minor repairs and improvements. You walk with a steady, purposeful stride, feeling the familiar rhythm of the ground beneath your feet. There were no dramatic incidents, no heroic feats, just the quiet, meticulous work of maintaining the essential pathways of a thriving nation. It's a delightful monotony, a comforting predictability that underscores the very foundation of your world. You arrive back in Delft, the familiar sense of peat smoke and fresh bread a welcome signal of your return. Another day of quiet vigilance successfully completed. The next day, you find yourself focusing on a somewhat less glamorous but equally crucial aspect of canal maintenance: the integrity of the canal banks themselves. These earthen or stone embankments are the silent guardians of the waterways, holding back the surrounding land and preventing the water from spilling out or seeping away. Your task is to identify any signs of erosion, slumping, or burrowing animals that could compromise their structural integrity. You carry a sturdy probing rod today, useful for testing the firmness of the soil beneath the surface. You begin your inspection in a rural section of canal where the banks are primarily earthen. You walk slowly along the edge, your eyes trained on the subtle contours of the land. You look for areas where the grass is sparse or discolored, indicating excessive dampness, or where small cracks have appeared in the soil, suggesting potential settling. You periodically push your probing rod into the earth, feeling for soft spots or hollows that might indicate a hidden burrow or a developing void. It's a bit like feeling for a hidden bruise on a very large, stoic body. One mainstream historical fact that often comes to mind is the constant struggle the Dutch faced against the forces of water. Living in a low-lying country, prone to flooding, necessitated an unparalleled understanding of dikes and embankments. The canals, in addition to being transport routes, were often integral parts of this larger water management system, their banks acting as mini dikes themselves. You are, in a very direct way, a frontline soldier in this perpetual battle against the rising waters. As you meticulously probe the earth, a quirky tidbit you once overheard from an old farmer surfaces. He swore that the best way to detect a hidden burrow was to watch for particularly plump badgers in the area, as they preferred to dig their burrows in soft, well-drained earth. While you haven't exactly adopted badger watching as a primary inspection technique, the image of a well-fed badger diligently undermining a canal bank is certainly amusing. You, however, rely on your probing rod and trained eye, which are considerably more reliable than a badger's waistline. You discover a section where the probing rod sinks unusually easily, indicating a significant void beneath the surface. Closer inspection reveals a small, almost imperceptible hole, the telltale sign of a burrowing animal, likely a muskrat or a water vole. These creatures, while seemingly harmless, can cause extensive damage over time, creating tunnels that weaken the bank and could eventually lead to a collapse. You make a detailed note, marking the location precisely. This will require a specialist team to deal with, perhaps using traps or deterrents. It's a delicate situation, as you want to prevent damage without harming the animals unnecessarily. Historians still debate the effectiveness of various historical methods for animal control in water management. Were the often harsh methods employed truly necessary, or were there more humane and equally effective alternatives? You, as a modern 17th century inspector, aim for pragmatism and efficiency, seeking solutions that protect the infrastructure while minimizing harm. It's a constant consideration, a quiet ethical quandary in your otherwise straightforward work. You move to a section where the canal banks are reinforced with stone revetments, carefully laid blocks designed to resist erosion. Here, your inspection focuses on the stability of the stones themselves. You look for any that have shifted or loosened, for gaps where water might be seeping through, or for any signs of plant growth pushing apart the masonry. You use your hammer to gently tap the stones, listening for any telltale sounds of instability. You recall a rather embarrassing moment early in your career when you confidently declared a section of embankment perfectly sound, only for it to develop a significant slump a week later. The old, grizzled inspector who was your mentor simply raised an eyebrow and said, "The earth, my boy, has a mind of its own. You must learn to listen to its whispers." It was a valuable lesson in humility and the unpredictable nature of the ground beneath your feet. You've been listening to those whispers ever since. A scholarly debate that often arises concerns the choice of building materials for canal banks. Why were certain sections reinforced with stone while others remained earthen? Was it purely a matter of cost, or were there specific hydrological reasons? You've observed that stone is often used in areas of higher current or greater traffic, where erosion is a more significant threat. Earthen banks, while cheaper, require more frequent maintenance. It's a classic example of engineering trade-offs, balancing expense with long-term durability. You spot a small, rather robust-looking toad sitting on a stone, watching you with an unblinking gaze. It seems perfectly content with its watery habitat, a testament to the general health of the canal system. You offer a silent nod of acknowledgement, a brief moment of connection with the natural world that coexists with your engineered environment. The canals are not just artificial constructs. They are, in many ways, living ecosystems. You find a section where a small, illicit path has been worn down the bank by local children, creating a minor erosion point. It's a common occurrence, the result of human convenience overriding structural integrity. You make a note to have some thorny bushes planted there, a natural, yet effective, deterrent. It's a gentle way of guiding human behavior, much like a good shepherd gently steers his flock away from danger. You'd rather plant a bush than put up a sign that no one will read. As the day progresses, the sun warms the air, chasing away the last vestiges of morning chill. Your probing rod has revealed several minor issues, and your notebook is filled with details for the maintenance crews. There were no dramatic bank collapses or sudden floods, just the steady, predictable work of preventing them. You walk back towards Delft with a quiet satisfaction, knowing that the silent sentinels of the canal, its banks, remain strong and secure, thanks to your diligent oversight. The delightful uneventfulness of your work continues, a testament to vigilance, and the subtle dance between human ingenuity and the persistent forces of nature. The following day brings a new focus. The numerous small bridges and culverts that allow smaller waterways to pass under the main canals or roads. These are often hidden, easily overlooked, but critically important for local drainage and agricultural irrigation. If a culvert becomes blocked, it can cause localized flooding in fields or disrupt water supply to farms. Your inspection today will involve wading into some shallow, muddy water, so you've donned your sturdiest, knee-high leather boots. You arrive at the first culvert, barely visible beneath a grassy embankment. It's a simple stone arch, wide enough for a small stream to pass through. You carefully descend the bank, splashing into the cool, murky water. The air here is damp and earthy, carrying the scent of rich soil and decaying leaves. You get down on your hands and knees, peering into the culvert's dark interior. Your eyes scan for any obstructions, accumulated leaves, branches, or even mudslides that might have partially blocked the flow. One mainstream historical fact that often comes to mind is the sheer density of waterways in the Dutch Republic. Beyond the Grand Canals, there were countless smaller streams, ditches, and culverts, all part of an intricate drainage and irrigation system. It was a testament to the Dutch mastery of water management, the ability to tame and direct every drop for human benefit. You are inspecting the capillaries of this vast circulatory system, ensuring every tiny part functions perfectly. It's a bit like checking the hidden pipes in a very old, very complex house. As you peer into the culvert, a quirky tidbit you once heard about the unusual creatures found in these hidden waterways surfaces. An old fisherman once swore he'd seen a water imp living in a particularly dark culvert, claiming it would steal his fishing bait. While you've never encountered any mythical creatures, you have, on occasion, stumbled upon particularly large and grumpy eels. You prefer the eels. At least they don't try to steal your lunch. The idea of a water imp, however, certainly adds a touch of mystery to your otherwise practical work. You discover a significant buildup of leaves and silt at the culvert's entrance, effectively reducing its capacity by half. This is a common problem, especially after heavy winds. You make a note in your book, along with an estimated time for a small crew to clear the blockage. This will involve shovels and perhaps a long rake. It's not a difficult task, but it requires diligent attention. Neglecting these small blockages is like letting a single grain of sand accumulate. Eventually, it becomes a mountain. Historians still debate the true impact of introducing certain non-native species into the Dutch waterways, particularly those brought by trade ships. Did these new species disrupt the delicate ecosystem of the canals, or did they simply integrate into the existing environment? You, as a canal inspector, are more concerned with the practical implications. For example, certain invasive water plants can quickly choke waterways if left unchecked. It's a complex interplay between nature and commerce, with ongoing, often unforeseen consequences. You move to a series of even smaller culverts that pass under farm tracks, allowing water to flow between irrigation ditches. These are often less formal, sometimes just simple pipes of ceramic or wood. You check for cracks, leaks, or any signs that they might be collapsing. The integrity of these small conduits is vital for local agriculture, ensuring farmers have the water they need for their crops. You recall a time when you found a particularly large and stubborn goose attempting to nest inside a culvert. It was quite a challenge to persuade the indignant bird to relocate, involving a long stick and a great deal of patience. The goose eventually waddled off, honking loudly in protest, leaving behind a trail of feathers and a surprisingly large egg. You left the egg, hoping the goose would return for it. It's these unexpected encounters that add a dash of humor to your otherwise predictable days. At least it wasn't a water imp. A scholarly debate that occasionally arises concerns the role of private landowners in maintaining these smaller culverts and ditches. Were they solely responsible for their upkeep, or did the water boards offer assists? Tance or oversight? You've observed a mixed approach, with landowners often taking primary responsibility, but the water board stepping in if a blockage causes broader issues. It's a testament to the distributed nature of water management in the Netherlands, where individual responsibility meshes with collective oversight. You find a culvert that appears to have a small leak, a faint trickle of water seeping from a crack in the masonry. It's not a significant leak, but it indicates a weakness that could worsen over time. You mark the location for a masonry crew to come and seal the crack. It's these tiny imperfections, caught early, that prevent major structural failures. It's like finding a small tear in a sail and patching it before it becomes a gaping hole. As the day wears on, your boots are thoroughly muddy, and your hands are grimy from probing and examining. But your notebook is filled with valuable observations, ensuring that the hidden arteries of the canal system remain open and functional. You emerge from the last culvert, blinking in the bright afternoon sun, feeling the satisfying ache of a day spent in purposeful activity. The small, unseen battles against silt and debris, against the persistent encroachment of nature, are just as important as the grander inspections of locks and bridges. It's the quiet, diligent work that ensures the continuous, delightful uneventfulness of your unique profession. The very next morning, your duties take you to an area where the canals interact closely with land drainage systems, specifically focusing on the operation of numerous small windmills that dot the landscape. These aren't the majestic, multi-sailed giants you see in paintings, but smaller, utilitarian structures, often with just a few sails, designed specifically for pumping excess water from the low-lying polders into the canals. Your role today is to ensure these pumps are functioning efficiently, preventing waterlogging in the valuable agricultural lands. You carry a small anemometer, a device for measuring wind speed, although you rely mostly on your experienced eye and the feel of the breeze. You approach the first windmill, its sails turning lazily in the gentle morning breeze. The rhythmic creak of its wooden gears is a familiar, comforting sound. You greet the miller, a stoic but friendly man named Art, who is busy adjusting the sails. He nods in acknowledgement, his face weathered by years of sun and wind. You observe the water flowing from the mill's discharge pipe into the canal, checking its volume and clarity. You're looking for any signs of inefficiency, a pump running too slowly, or water not being effectively cleared. One mainstream historical fact that underscores your work is the remarkable innovation of the Dutch in harnessing wind power for water management. The windmill, for the Netherlands, was not just an iconic symbol. It was a fundamental tool for land reclamation and maintaining habitable land. Without these tireless machines, much of the country would simply revert to marsh or sea. You are, in a very direct way, ensuring the continued existence of arable land and human habitation. It's like being the maintenance crew for the very breath of a nation. As you observe the windmill's operation, a quirky tidbit you once heard comes to mind. Some millers, it was said, would paint elaborate patterns or symbols on their mill sails, not just for decoration, but as a form of communication. A certain pattern might indicate a wedding, a funeral, or a change in the miller's availability. Imagine sending messages across the landscape, not with flags or smoke, but with the very sails that powered their livelihoods. While likely exaggerated, it adds a touch of whimsical artistry to these hardworking machines. You, of course, are more interested in the efficiency of the rotation than the aesthetic. You notice that the mill's sails seem to be turning a little slower than they should be, even for the gentle breeze. You consult your anemometer, confirming that the wind speed is adequate. This suggests an issue with the mill's internal mechanism. Perhaps a bearing needs oiling, or there's some minor obstruction. You discuss your observations with Art, who sighs and confirms he's noticed the same. You make a note in your book to dispatch a millwright to inspect it more thoroughly. Early detection of these small inefficiencies saves larger problems down the line. It's like noticing a subtle cough in a healthy person. It might just be a cold, but it's worth checking. Historians still debate the optimal design and placement of these drainage windmills. Was it a trial and error process, or were there more sophisticated calculations involved in determining their efficiency and capacity? The sheer variety of mill designs across the country suggests a continuous process of experimentation and adaptation to local conditions. You, as a practical man, simply ensure that the current mills are rating as they should, leaving the historical design debates to others. Your job is less about designing the machine and more about making sure it doesn't break down mid-operation. You move to a series of ditches and small sluices that feed into and out of the polder, checking water levels and ensuring the drainage is effective. In some areas, the water needs to be carefully maintained at a specific level for particular crops. Your job involves a constant awareness of these subtle yet crucial distinctions. You are, in a sense, a water-level conductor, ensuring the symphony of drainage plays in harmony. You recall a particularly humorous incident involving a rather dim-witted farmer who, convinced his mill was possessed by mischievous spirits, tried to exorcise it with a bucket of holy water and a vigorous waving of onions. The mill, of course, continued to turn, much to the farmer's dismay and your quiet amusement. You gently explained the principles of wind power, and eventually the miller realized the spirits were simply a stiff bearing. It's a good reminder that sometimes the most complex problems have the simplest, most practical solutions. A scholarly debate that sometimes emerges concerns the social organization of water management. Were the millers independent operators, or were they part of a larger, coordinated system overseen by the water boards? From your observations, it's a mix. Millers certainly have a degree of autonomy, but their work is ultimately integrated into the broader network, and they answer to the water board if their operation affects the overall system. It's a pragmatic approach that combines individual initiative with collective responsibility. You observe a flock of sheep grazing peacefully in a nearby polder. Their white fleeces a stark contrast against the green grass. The very existence of this fertile grazing land is a testament to the tireless work of the windmills and the diligent maintenance of the canal system. It's a visible representation of the success of human ingenuity in shaping the landscape. You appreciate these small, tangible reminders of the impact of your quiet work. You find a minor blockage in a small discharge ditch leading from a mill, a clump of reeds and some mud. You use a long stick to carefully dislodge it, freeing the flow of water. It's a small task, easily overlooked, but it ensures the mill's efficiency and prevents water from backing up into the polder. It's these small acts of vigilance that cumulatively maintain the vast and complex system. It's like making sure all the tiny gears in a watch are clean. If even one sticks, the whole thing stops. As the day progresses, the wind picks up slightly, and the mill sails turn with a more vigorous rhythm. The steady drone of the pumps is a comforting sound, a symphony of efficient drainage. Your notebook is filled with observations and minor recommendations. There were no dramatic mechanical failures, no sudden floods, just the quiet, persistent work of ensuring that the windmills continue their vital, tireless dance with the wind and water. You head back towards Delft, the distant sight of the turning sails a reminder of the quiet, yet profound, impact of your daily routine. Today's focus takes you to a different kind of intersection in the canal network. The major ferry crossings and the areas where canals meet larger rivers or even the sea. These are points of increased traffic, greater water movement, and thus, more potential for wear and tear. Your inspection here requires a keen eye for subtle currents, deeper drafts, and the impact of larger vessels. You bring your most robust pair of boots, knowing you'll be walking through more significant churn and potentially dealing with larger debris. You begin at a busy ferry crossing, where a large, flat-bottomed ferry is constantly shuttling people, carts, and even small herds of livestock across the canal. The water here is churned and murky, testament to the constant activity. You inspect the ferry ramps, checking for erosion or damage from the heavy traffic. You also observe the banks themselves, looking for any signs of undermining caused by the ferry's repeated docking and undocking. It's a delicate balance, ensuring smooth passage for the ferry while preserving the integrity of the canal banks. It's a bit like being a referee for a slow-motion, aquatic ballet. One mainstream historical fact that stands out is the crucial role of ferries in connecting communities separated by the vast network of waterways. While bridges were built where practical, ferries provided flexible, often indispensable, connections, particularly for large or cumbersome loads. They were the mobile bridges of their time, and their reliable operation was as vital as any fixed structure. You are ensuring these vital connections remain unbroken. As you watch the ferry glide across, a quirky tidbit about ferrymen comes to mind. You once heard that some ferrymen elaborate, almost poetic, calls to announce their arrival, using specific rhythms or rhymes that were unique to their family or crossing point. Imagine the melodic cries echoing across the water, a centuries-old form of sonic branding. While the ferryman here simply gives a hearty shout, the idea of such vocal traditions adds a touch of historical romance to an otherwise utilitarian task. You, of course, just quietly observe. You notice a slight subsidence in the land near one of the ferry ramps, a subtle dip that suggests the underlying soil is settling. You make a careful note, sketching the area in your book. This will require the attention of an earthworks crew, likely needing to reinforce the area with additional piling or compacted earth. It's a preventative measure, addressing a small problem before it escalates into a ramp collapse and potential chaos. It's like noticing a loose floorboard in a busy hallway and fixing it before someone trips. Historians still debate the economic efficiency of ferry operations versus bridge construction. Was it always more cost-effective to build a bridge? Or did the flexibility and lower initial investment of ferries make them preferable in certain locations? You, witnessing the constant stream of traffic on this particular ferry, can attest to its undeniable utility. Practicality, you've learned, often trumps grand engineering designs when it comes to the day-to-day needs of a community. You move further along, towards a section where the canal joins a larger river, creating a more dynamic hydrological environment. The currents here are stronger, the water deeper, and the potential for larger debris is greater. You scan the river mouth for any signs of silting where the canal enters, or for larger floating obstacles brought down by the river flow. Your vigilance here is heightened. A major blockage at such a junction could have far-reaching consequences. You recall a time when a rogue tree trunk, dislodged by a river flood upstream, came barreling down towards the canal junction. It was an unexpected moment of genuine drama in your usually placid career. You managed to alert a nearby work crew, and with ropes and considerable effort, they managed to divert the massive log before it caused any damage. It was a rare burst of adrenaline, and a stark reminder that even the most controlled environments can be subject to nature's unpredictable whims. You still think of it as the day the canal almost got a splinter. A scholarly debate that occasionally arises concerns the impact of tidal influences on canal systems near coastal areas or river estuaries. How did Dutch engineers manage these complex interactions, particularly with fluctuating water levels and saltwater intrusion? You, as an inspector, are acutely aware of these challenges, constantly monitoring sluice gates that regulate the flow between fresh and brackish water, ensuring the delicate balance is maintained. It's a continuous, subtle battle against the sea itself. You observe a group of fishermen casting their nets into the river, their small boats bobbing gently in the current. They are a part of the natural rhythm of these waterways, their presence a testament to the health and abundance of the fish populations. You nod to one of the fishermen, and he offers a gruff but friendly greeting in return. It's a reminder that your work supports not just commerce, but also traditional ways of life. You spot a small, dilapidated pier, clearly unused and slowly crumbling into the water. It's a hazard. Its loose timbers a potential threat to passing boats. You make a note to have it removed. It's these small acts of clearing away the obsolete that ensure the continued safety and efficiency of the waterways. Sometimes, progress isn't about building something new, but about safely dismantling the old. It's like clearing out a dusty attic to make way for fresh air. As the afternoon draws to a close, you complete your inspection of the ferry crossings and river junctions. You've identified a few key areas for attention, ensuring the continuous, safe movement of traffic and the delicate balance of water flows. The sounds of the river, the creak of the ferry, and the distant cries of gulls are the soundtrack to your return. You head back towards Delft, your boots heavy with the mud of riverbanks, carrying the quiet satisfaction of a day spent ensuring the vital connections of the Dutch Republic remain secure. The next day, your inspection duties take you into the heart of Delft itself, focusing on the urban canals. These waterways are different from the rural and outlying sections. They are narrower, often lined with houses directly on the water, and serve as both transport routes and integral parts of city life. Your vigilance here must be particularly sharp, as the consequences of any issue can directly impact numerous dwellings and businesses. Your concerns here lean more towards refuse, structural integrity, tie of adjacent buildings, and the occasional curious tourist. You begin your tour in a particularly picturesque part of the city, where merchant houses with their distinctive gables rise directly from the canal banks. The water here, while often bustling with small boats and barges, tends to be clearer, reflecting the ornate facades. You walk along the narrow quays, your eyes scanning the walls of the houses for any signs of dampness, cracks, or subsidence that might indicate an issue with the canal's foundation or the water level itself. You're not a building inspector per se, but the two are inextricably linked. One mainstream historical fact that is particularly evident in urban canals is their dual purpose. They served as vital transport arteries for goods entering and leaving the city, and also as convenient open sewers. While your job focuses on the former, the latter was an undeniable reality of 17th century urban life, leading to various health challenges. You, of course, strive to maintain the water's navigability, leaving the more fragrant aspects of waste management to others. It's a delicate balance between commerce and, shall we say, a certain robustness of olfactory tolerance. As you walk, a quirky tidbit about urban canal life comes to mind. You once heard that some of the wealthier merchants would have small, private water gates at the back of their houses, allowing them to directly unload goods from barges into their warehouses. Imagine the convenience. While you don't encounter such lavish features in your day-to-day, The idea of such integrated living and commerce is a testament to the profound connection the Dutch had with their waterways. You, of course, are more interested in the state of the masonry around these gates than their historical opulence. You notice a section where the foundation of an old house appears to be showing signs of dampness, a darker stain creeping up the brickwork. It's subtle, but your trained eye catches it immediately. This could indicate a higher than usual water level in the canal, or perhaps a localized leak. You make a note to return later with a water level gauge and take precise measurements. You'll then inform the homeowner, advising them to consult a builder. You are, in a quiet way, a guardian of the city's very foundations. It's like finding a small leak in a teacup, but if left unaddressed, it could eventually spill everywhere. Historians still debate the impact of urban canal pollution on public health in the 17th century. Was it a major contributor to disease, or did the constant flow of water mitigate some of the risks? From your perspective, you're simply grateful that most of the particularly noxious waste is dealt with by other means now. However, you are still vigilant for large accumulations of refuse that might impede navigation or create stagnant pockets. Your job is to keep things moving, both literally and figuratively. You pass a small vegetable market set up right on the quay, its colorful stalls overflowing with fresh produce. Barges are moored nearby, their crews unloading crates of carrots, cabbages, and apples. The sounds of haggling, the cheerful banter of vendors, and the earthy smell of fresh vegetables fill the air. It's a vibrant, bustling scene, a testament to the economic vitality that the canals enable. You often find a moment to enjoy a fresh apple while on your rounds, a small, sweet reward for your vigilance. You recall a rather embarrassing incident involving a slightly inebriated sailor who, attempting to impress a young lady, tried to swing from a mooring rope across the canal. He misjudged the distance, of course, and ended up with an ungraceful splash, much to the amusement of the onlookers and the utter mortification of the young lady. You, ever the professional, merely offered him a hand up and a clean rag, refraining from any "I told you so" comments. Some lessons you've learned are best taught by cold canal water. A scholarly debate that occasionally arises concerns the aesthetics of urban canals. Were they seen primarily as utilitarian arteries, or were they also appreciated for their beauty and picturesque qualities? From your daily experience, you see both. They are undeniably functional, but they also contribute immensely to the unique charm and character of Delft. The reflections of the gabled houses, the gentle bobbing of boats, the serene passage of sunlight, these are moments of beauty that punctuate your working day. You spot a discarded barrel, clearly empty, floating aimlessly in the middle of the canal. Left unchecked, it could become a hazard to navigation. You find a long pole used for mooring, and with a few practiced shoves, manage to guide the barrel to the side, where you can easily retrieve it later. It's a small victory against the ceaseless accumulation of urban detritus, a tiny act of order in a bustling environment. It's like picking up a piece of litter from a perfectly CL. Ian floor. As the afternoon wears on, the sounds of the city begin to soften, replaced by the gentler hum of evening activity. Your notebook contains several entries related to structural dampness and localized refuse, all easily manageable. The urban canals, while requiring a different kind of attention, offer their own unique rewards: the vibrant life, the historical charm, and the constant reminder of the direct impact of your work on countless lives. You head back towards your office, feeling a quiet sense of accomplishment. The heart of Delft, you know, remains as sturdy and as navigable as ever, thanks to your diligent, delightful uneventfulness. The following day brings a renewed focus on the critical infrastructure of sluice gates and weir systems. These are the valves and regulators of the entire canal network, controlling water levels, diverting flows, and preventing flooding or drought in various sections. Their precise and reliable operation is paramount. Your inspection today will involve climbing, descending, and getting intimately familiar with the massive wooden and iron mechanisms that comprise these vital controls. You carry a lantern for probing into dark recesses and a sturdy wrench for testing the tightness of bolts. You arrive at a large sluice gate, its imposing timber and iron framework spanning the width of the canal. The air here is often damp, carrying the faint, metallic scent of rust and the earthy smell of perpetually wet wood. You begin your meticulous inspection, running your hands over the enormous wooden beams, checking for rot or splintering. You examine the iron gears and chains, looking for rust, wear, or any signs of strain. You listen for any unusual creaks or groans as you test the massive hand cranks that raise and lower the gates. It's like being a doctor for a gigantic, perpetually thirsty mechanical beast. One mainstream historical fact that often fills you with quiet awe is the sheer scale and ingenuity of these sluice gate systems. Developed over centuries, often by trial and error, they represent a profound understanding of hydraulics and engineering, allowing the Dutch to precisely manage water across a vast and complex landscape. These are not mere gates. They are masterpieces of practical design, ensuring the delicate balance between land and water. You are a custodian of this enduring legacy. As you test the smooth operation of a smaller sluice gate, a quirky tidbit you once heard from an old, retired gatekeeper resurfaces. He claimed that each gate had its own personality, some being stubborn, others remarkably cooperative, and that you had to speak to them in a certain way to get them to respond. While you prefer a more mechanical approach, the idea of a gate with a temperament certainly adds a touch of charm to these inanimate objects. Perhaps you muse, a gentle word and a firm hand are indeed the best tools. You notice a slight stickiness in one of the gears as you operate a gate, a faint resistance that shouldn't be there. You bring your lantern closer, peering into the mechanism, and discover a small accumulation of dried mud and grit. You use your wrench to carefully dislodge it, and with a satisfying click, the gear now turns smoothly. It's a minor issue, easily rectified but left unattended. It could lead to increased friction, premature wear, and eventually, a seized mechanism. Your vigilant eye has prevented a future headache. It's like finding a tiny pebble in a complicated clockwork mechanism and simply removing it. Historians still debate the precise methods used for calculating water pressure and flow rates in the design of these large sluice gates. Was it purely empirical observation, or did they possess a more sophisticated, though unrecorded, theoretical understanding? The enduring effectiveness of these structures suggests a remarkable blend of practical experience and intuitive genius. You, meanwhile, are content to ensure their continued operation, leaving the academic debates to those with more leisure time. Your job is to keep the water flowing, not to write dissertations about it. You move to a weir system, a series of fixed or adjustable barriers designed to control water levels and divert water into different channels. Here, you inspect the spillways, ensuring they are clear of debris, and check the integrity of the stonework that forms the weir itself. The sound of rushing water over a weir is a constant, soothing drone, a testament to the powerful forces you help to manage. You recall a time when you almost slipped on a patch of algae-covered stone while inspecting a particularly damp weir. You managed to regain your footing with an undignified flail, saving yourself from a very cold, very wet plunge into the churning water. It was a brief moment of alarm, quickly followed by quiet relief. You learned to be even more cautious on slippery surfaces, a practical lesson delivered by the very elements you inspect. T's a reminder that even in predictable jobs, gravity remains a constant and often humbling force. A scholarly debate that occasionally arises concerns the role of sluice gates in ecological management. While designed for water control, did they also act as barriers to fish migration, impacting aquatic biodiversity? It's a complex question, one you've silently pondered as you observe the life that thrives in and around the gates. Your priority is hydraulic control, but you are also aware of the broader ecological implications of your work. It's a constant balancing act, ensuring human needs are met while acknowledging the rhythms of nature. You spot a small bird's nest tucked into a crevice high on one of the sluice gate's timbers. It's a tiny, intricate structure, woven from twigs and bits of straw. You leave it undisturbed, a small concession to the natural world that finds a home even in the most man-made of structures. It's a quiet reminder that life, in all its forms, adapts and thrives even in the regulated environment of the canals. As the afternoon wanes, your inspection of the sluice gates and weir systems is complete. Your hands are a little stiff from cranking and probing, and your boots are damp, but your notebook is filled with meticulous details for the maintenance crews. There were no catastrophic failures, no urgent emergencies, just the steady, deliberate work of ensuring that these vital water controls remain in perfect working order. You head back towards Delft, the rhythmic splash of water through the gates a comforting lullaby. Your delight in the uneventfulness of your work continues, a profound satisfaction found in the quiet mastery of water. The next morning brings with it a gentle, persistent fog, not unlike a soft blanket drawn across the landscape. Your duties today take you to the outskirts of the town, focusing on the various small pumping stations that supplement the windmills in clearing water from particularly low-lying polder sections. These are often manually operated, or at least require manual oversight, making your presence and meticulous inspection crucial. You carry a large, sturdy bucket and a long-handled scoop for sampling water and clearing minor blockages within the pumps themselves. You arrive at the first pumping station, a small, unassuming shed housing a simple, yet effective, Archimedes screw pump. The fog mutes all sounds, lending an almost surreal quiet to the scene. You greet the pump operator, a quiet, diligent man named Claus who is already at work, checking the gears. He offers a brief nod. You begin your inspection by observing the pump's operation, listening to the rhythmic turning of the screw, ensuring it's free of unusual noises or vibrations. You're essentially listening to the pulse of the polder. One mainstream historical fact that often impresses you is the enduring legacy of ancient engineering. The Archimedes screw, though invented millennia ago, was still a vital tool in 17th century water management, a testament to its simple yet profound effectiveness. It's a reminder that sometimes the oldest solutions are still the best, and that true genius transcends the ages. You are, in a small way, a practitioner of ancient wisdom, adapted to the needs of your modern era. It's like finding that a simple lever and fulcrum can still move mountains, or at least a lot of water. As you observe Claus, a quirky tidbit you once heard about pump operators resurfaces. Apparently, Some of them would swear by specific rituals or superstitions to ensure the pump ran smoothly, from leaving offerings of bread near the gears to singing particular songs while cranking. While Claus seems a pragmatic sort, you appreciate the human element of trying to exert control over unpredictable forces. You, of course, rely on meticulous observation and the gentle application of whale oil to ensure smooth operation. You use your scoop to collect a small sample of water from the pump's intake. You examine it carefully, checking for any unusual discoloration, excessive sediment, or signs of algae bloom. Too much sediment can clog the pump over time, while algae can indicate nutrient imbalances in the polder water. The sample looks relatively clear, a good sign. You then check the discharge pipe, ensuring the water is flowing freely and efficiently into the canal. Historians still debate the precise impact of continuous water pumping on soil composition in the reclaimed polders. Did the constant removal of water alter the nutrient balance, requiring different agricultural practices? You've certainly observed that polder farmers often use specific crop rotations to replenish the soil. It's a complex interplay between engineering, agriculture, and the delicate balance of the earth itself. A scholarly debate you often ponder as you witness the lush fields thriving on reclaimed land. You move to a smaller, more remote pumping station, where the pump is entirely manually operated, requiring a person to turn a large crank. These are often used for very localized drainage. You test the crank yourself, feeling the resistance, listening for any grinding or stiffness in the mechanism. It's a physically demanding task, a reminder of the sheer human effort that underpins much of the hydraulic infrastructure. You recall a particularly strong gale that swept through the region last winter, damaging several windmill sails and causing some pumping stations to seize up. You spent days trudging through freezing water, helping repair crews and ensuring temporary drainage solutions were in place. It was a challenging time, but it highlighted the resilience of the network and the dedication of the people who maintained it. It also highlighted the necessity of having truly sturdy boots, a lesson you took to heart. A scholarly debate that occasionally arises concerns the ownership and financing of these smaller pumping stations. Were they privately owned by farmers, or were they communal assets maintained by the local water boards? You've observed a mix, with some being individually managed, and others part of a shared, collaborative effort. It's a testament to the diverse ways in which the Dutch organized themselves to collectively manage their water-rich landscape. It's a beautiful example of communal cooperation. You spot a small, meticulously maintained vegetable garden near one of the pumping stations, its rows of cabbages and carrots thriving. The very existence of this garden, nestled in a polder, is a direct result of the continuous, tireless work of the pumps. It's a tangible, visible reward for your work, a reminder that your uneventful inspections directly contribute to the sustenance and prosperity of the community. You find a small, loose stone wedged near the intake of a pump, causing a faint rattle. You carefully remove it, and the rattle disappears, replaced by the smooth, rhythmic hum of the machinery. It's a tiny detail, easily missed, but catching it prevents potential damage to the pump's impeller. It's these small acts of meticulousness that sum up the essence of your profession. It's like finding a single, irritating grain of sand in a perfectly running watch. Removing it restores harmony. As the morning fog slowly begins to dissipate, revealing patches of pale blue sky, you complete your inspection of the pumping stations. Your hands are a little stiff from testing cranks, and your ears are filled with the rhythmic hum of the machinery. There were no dramatic breakdowns, No urgent crises, just the steady, predictable work of ensuring that the vital pumps continue their tireless dance of draining water from the land. You head back towards Delft, the gentle turning of distant windmill sails and the quiet hum of the pumps, a soothing soundtrack to your return. The delightful uneventfulness of your workday continues, a testament to vigilance and the constant, quiet mastery of water. Today, your itinerary takes you to the various moorings and harbors within your inspection district, from bustling commercial docks to quieter, recreational mooring spots. These areas are crucial for the efficient loading and unloading of goods, the safe berthing of vessels, and the overall smooth operation of canal traffic. Your inspection here focuses on the condition of quay walls, mooring posts, and any dredging needs caused by accumulated sediment from constant vessel activity. You carry a heavy gauge for measuring rope thickness, ensuring the mooring posts can withstand significant tension. You begin at the busiest commercial quay in Delft, where barges of all sizes are constantly arriving and departing. The air is filled with the shouts of dockworkers, the creak of ropes, and the rhythmic clang of cargo being moved. You navigate the bustling scene, your eyes scanning the sturdy stone quay wall. You look for any signs of cracking, bulging, or erosion caused by the constant impact of vessels. You also inspect the mooring posts, checking for splinters, rot, or any signs of weakness. These posts, seemingly simple, are vital for securing large, heavy barges. It's like being a quality control inspector for a very busy, very wet parking lot. One mainstream historical fact that you are acutely aware of is the sheer volume of trade that flowed through these Dutch ports and inland harbors. The Dutch Republic's economic prosperity was inextricably linked to its maritime and inland trade, and the efficient operation of its docks and moorings was paramount. You are a silent guardian of this economic engine, ensuring the physical infrastructure that underpins it remains sound. It's like ensuring the very foundations of a thriving marketplace are sturdy. As you walk along the quay, a quirky tidbit you once heard from an old dockworker comes to mind. He swore that the best way to judge a captain's skill was not by how fast he sailed, but by how smoothly he docked his vessel, claiming that only truly masterful could avoid scuffing the quay walls. While you appreciate a gentle docking, you're more concerned with the actual damage than the captain's ego. Still, it paints a vivid picture of the subtle pride and competitive spirit among those who worked on the waterways. You notice a section of the quay wall where a large, heavily laden barge has clearly scraped against the stone, leaving a noticeable gouge. While not structurally critical, it is a sign of wear that, if repeated, could lead to more serious damage. You make a note to speak with the harbor master about implementing stricter guidelines for docking procedures in this particularly busy spot. Education, you've found, can be as effective as repair. It's like gently reminding someone not to drag their suitcase across a newly polished floor. Historians still debate the evolution of harbor design and technology in the 17th century. Were innovations driven primarily by increasing ship sizes or by the need for more efficient loading and unloading methods? From your perspective, you see the constant adaptation of infrastructure to meet changing demands. The quays become sturdier, the mooring systems more robust. It's a continuous, organic process of improvement. You move to a quieter section, a series of private moorings used by smaller pleasure boats or individual merchants. Here, your focus shifts slightly. You check the wooden pilings that secure these moorings, looking for marine borers or signs of rot. You also check the depth of the water, ensuring it's sufficient for the vessels and that no excessive silting has occurred, which could make berthing difficult. You recall a rather unfortunate incident where a particularly zealous new harbor master, eager to demonstrate his authority, declared an entire section of moorings unsafe due to what he perceived as excessive barnacle growth. You had to gently explain that barnacles, while unsightly, rarely compromise the structural integrity of a robust timber piling, and that a full closure would cause unnecessary disruption. He eventually relented, somewhat mollified, but the incident became a quiet joke among the more seasoned inspectors. Sometimes, you've learned, the biggest challenges come not from the canals themselves, but from human enthusiasm. A scholarly debate that occasionally arises concerns the environmental impact of increasing harbor activity. Did the constant movement of vessels, the inevitable spills, and the alteration of the natural coastline contribute to localized pollution or habitat loss? You, as an inspector, are keenly aware of these issues, and your notes often include recommendations for better waste management or more environmentally conscious dredging practices. It's a constant negotiation between progress and preservation. You spot a small, rather charming rowboat, freshly painted and meticulously maintained, bobbing gently at its mooring. It's a small detail, but it brings a smile to your face. It's a reminder of the quiet joy and leisure that the canals also provide, beyond their commercial utility. You are not just overseeing infrastructure. You are, in a small way, facilitating a way of life. You find a discarded fishing line tangled around a mooring buoy, a potential hazard for passing boats. You carefully untangle it, coiling it neatly for disposal. It's a small piece of debris, but every such removal contributes to the overall cleanliness and safety of the harbor. It's like carefully removing a single, stray hair from a finely woven fabric. As the afternoon light begins to soften, you complete your inspection of the moorings and harbors. Your hands are a little rough from handling ropes and probing timbers, but your notebook is filled with observations and recommendations. There were no grand emergencies, no dramatic rescues, just the steady, diligent work of ensuring that the vital points of entry and exit for vessels remain secure and efficient. You head back towards your office, the distant sounds of the harbor a familiar lullaby. Your delight in the uneventfulness of your work continues, a profound satisfaction found in the quiet mastery of the waterways, ensuring their endless rhythm. Today, your route takes you to the various water intake points and associated treatment facilities, which, while rudimentary by modern standards, were crucial for providing clean drinking water to certain parts of the city and for various industrial processes. Your role here is to inspect the grates, screens, and any simple filtration mechanisms, ensuring they are clear of blockages and that the water quality appears acceptable. You carry a clear glass jar for collecting water samples, allowing you to visually assess its clarity and any unusual sediment. You arrive at a particularly important water intake point, where a system of wooden grates filters canal water before it is directed to a series of settling ponds. The air here is clean and surprisingly fresh. Stark contrast to some of the more industrial sections. You begin your meticulous inspection, running your hand along the wooden grates, checking for any debris, leaves, branches, or even fish that might be clogging the flow. The rhythmic rush of water through the grates is a constant, soothing sound. It's like being a gatekeeper for the city's thirst, ensuring a steady, clear flow. One mainstream historical fact that often comes to mind is the growing awareness in the 17th century of the importance of clean water for public health, particularly in urban areas. While the full germ theory was centuries away, practical measures like settling ponds and simple filtration began to be implemented to reduce waterborne diseases. You are a direct participant in this early, vital public health effort, ensuring the infrastructure for cleaner water remains operational. It's like being an early pioneer in sanitation, albeit without the lab coat. As you collect a water sample in your glass jar, a quirky tidbit you once heard about the historical methods of water purification surfaces. Some people, it was said, would swear by adding certain herbs or even a piece of silver to their drinking water to cleanse it. While you rely on more practical, if basic, filtration, the idea of such charming, if unscientific, remedies is certainly amusing. You, of course, prefer the tangible results of clear water in your jar over any superstitious solutions. You hold your sample jar up to the light, observing its clarity. You look for excessive turbidity, unusual discoloration, or any visible foreign matter. Today's sample looks relatively good, a testament to the efficient operation of the grates and the natural settling process in the ponds. You make a note of your visual assessment, along with the date and time. Any significant deviation would warrant further investigation and potential action. It's like checking the pulse of the water. A clear, steady beat is a good sign. Historians still debate the true effectiveness of these early water treatment methods. Did they significantly reduce disease rates, or were their impacts more limited? You, from your practical perspective, can only observe the tangible results of clearer water, and anecdotally, fewer instances of severe waterborne illness in areas with proper intake management. It's a quiet testament to the cumulative power of incremental improvements. You move to the settling ponds, large, shallow basins where water is allowed to sit, allowing heavier sediments to fall to the bottom. You check the edges of the ponds for any signs of erosion or breaches, and observe the water surface for any unusual scum or excessive algae growth. These ponds are a vital, natural filtration system, relying on gravity and time to do their work. You recall a time when a playful otter, much to your surprise, had decided to make its temporary home in one of the settling ponds, disrupting the delicate sediment layer and causing a brief surge of muddier water into the intake. It took some gentle coaxing and a few well-placed fish to persuade the creature to move on. It was a charming, if slightly inconvenient, interruption to your otherwise predictable routine. It's a good reminder that nature, even when managed, still finds a way to assert itself. A scholarly debate that occasionally arises concerns the impact of industrial pollution on water quality in the 17th century. Did industries discharge enough waste into the canals to significantly compromise drinking water sources, or were the canals generally resilient enough to handle it? You, as an inspector, are constantly vigilant for signs of industrial discharge, knowing that it can quickly overwhelm even the most robust natural filtration systems. It's a constant battle between progress and environmental impact. You spot a small group of birds drinking from the edge of one of the settling ponds, their undisturbed presence a good sign of the water's general health. You offer a quiet nod of approval. These small ecological indicators often tell you as much as any human observation. The harmonious coexistence of nature and infrastructure is a constant source of quiet satisfaction. You find a small crack in the wooden casing of a simple valve that regulates flow into one of the settling ponds. It's allowing a faint trickle of water to escape. You make a note to have it repaired. Even a small leak can represent wasted water and inefficient operation. It's these tiny imperfections, caught and rectified, that maintain the overall integrity and efficiency of the system. It's like finding a small tear in a water bucket and patching it before it becomes a waterfall. As the afternoon light begins to lengthen, you complete your inspection of the water intake points and treatment facilities. Your hands are a little damp from handling water samples, but your notebook is filled with meticulous observations, ensuring the continued flow of cleaner water. To the community, there were no dramatic public health crises averted, no grand scientific discoveries, just the steady, diligent work of ensuring a vital resource remains as clean and accessible as possible. You head back towards Delft, the gentle gurgle of the water a soothing soundtrack to your return. Your delight in the uneventfulness of your work continues, a profound satisfaction found in the quiet mastery of one of life's most essential elements, water. Today's journey takes you to the various repair yards and workshops scattered along the Canal network. While your role is primarily inspection and identification of issues, you also need to ensure that the necessary resources for repair are readily available and properly maintained. This involves checking the stock of timber, iron fittings, tools, and the readiness of the repair crews themselves. You're essentially inspecting the very backbone of the maintenance system, ensuring the doctors have their scalpels sharpened. You carry a small, well-used whetstone, useful for testing the sharpness of tools. You arrive at the largest repair yard in your district, a bustling hub of activity where carpenters are shaping massive timbers, blacksmiths are hammering red-hot iron, and boatwrights are patching hulls. The air is filled with the scent of sawdust, coal smoke, and tar. You greet the foreman, a gruff but amiable man named Dirk, who offers a nod. You begin your inspection by checking the timber stacks, ensuring the wood is properly seasoned and free of rot. You run your hand over the rough-sawn planks, feeling their quality. It's like checking the pantry of a very large, very busy kitchen. One mainstream historical fact that you appreciate is the self-sufficiency of the 17th century Dutch Republic in terms of its engineering and construction capabilities. They rarely relied on imported materials or expertise for their massive infrastructure projects. The repair yards were a testament to this, producing everything from lock gates to dredging equipment entirely in-house. You are inspecting a piece of this national self-reliance, ensuring its continued operational capability. It's like inspecting a factory that makes other factories. As you observe the carpenters at work, a quirky tidbit you once heard about ship's carpenters, a trade closely related to canal repair, surfaces. Some, it was said, would whisper secrets to the wood as they worked, believing it imbued the timber with strength and longevity. While you find the idea charming, you prefer the more practical approach of ensuring proper joinery and quality materials. Still, the thought of carpenters murmuring to planks adds a touch of whimsical magic to the rigorous craft. You, of course, just quietly assess the grain. You check the inventory of iron fittings, bolts, hinges, and plates, ensuring there's an adequate supply for expected repairs. You also inspect the blacksmith's forges, ensuring their equipment is in good working order and their iron stock is sufficient. A well-stocked repair yard means quicker response times to issues, minimizing disruption to canal traffic. You make a note of a slightly low stock of certain large-gauge bolts, reminding Dirk to place an order. It's a small detail, but ensuring the right supplies are on hand is crucial. It's like a doctor making sure he has all the right bandages before the patient bleeds. Historians still debate the impact of guild systems on the efficiency and quality of craftsmanship in the 17th century. Did they stifle innovation, or did they ensure high standards and continuity of knowledge? From your practical perspective, you simply appreciate the skill and dedication of the craftsmen you encounter. Their ability to work with raw materials and transform them into vital components of the canal system is undeniable. Guilds or no guilds, the work gets done, and it gets done well. You move to the boat repair section, where several smaller boats and dredging vessels are hauled out of the water for maintenance. You inspect their hulls for damage, their rigging for wear, and their engines, if they are wind or man-powered, for proper function. These vessels are your tools, and their readiness is paramount to your ability to respond to problems. You recall a rather boisterous incident during a repair yard visit when a newly minted apprentice, attempting to demonstrate his strength, accidentally dropped a massive timber, narrowly missing a passing donkey. The donkey, startled, let out a bray that echoed across the entire yard, and the apprentice, red-faced, earned himself a week of shovel duty. It's a good reminder that even in controlled environments, moments of unintended drama can arise. You, of course, maintained your composure, offering a calm assessment of the timber's trajectory. A scholarly debate that occasionally arises concerns the source of raw materials for these repair yards. Were the vast quantities of timber primarily sourced domestically, or was there significant reliance on imports from the Baltic or Scandinavia? You've certainly seen timber from various origins, but the majority, you believe, is Dutch-grown. It's a testament to the country's resourcefulness and the foresight of its forest management. It's a constant cycle of growth, harvest, and repair. You spot a young apprentice, no older than 15, meticulously sanding a newly shaped wooden lock gate. His brow is furrowed in concentration, and his movements are precise. You offer a quiet word of encouragement, and he looks up, offering a shy smile. It's a reminder that the traditions and skills of your profession are being passed down to a new generation, ensuring the continuity of this vital work. It's a comforting sight, a quiet reassurance that the future of the canals is in capable hands. You test the sharpness of a large saw blade with your whetstone, feeling the satisfying rasp as the stone meets the metal. A sharp tool, you know, is a safe and efficient tool. It's a small, symbolic act that underscores your commitment to meticulousness, even in the background operations. It's like a chef ensuring their knives are perfectly honed. It's about preparation and precision. As the afternoon light begins to soften, you complete your inspection of the repair yards and workshops. Your clothes smell faintly of sawdust and iron, but your notebook is filled with details ensuring that the vital support network for canal maintenance remains robust and ready. There were no dramatic breakthroughs in engineering, no new inventions, just the steady, diligent work of ensuring that the tools and materials for keeping the canals running smoothly are always available. You head back towards Delft, the distant clang of the blacksmith's hammer a familiar lullaby. Your delight in the uneventfulness of your work continues, a profound satisfaction found in the quiet mastery of the behind-the-scenes infrastructure that allows the entire Watery world to thrive. Your final inspection of the week brings you to a unique and often overlooked aspect of the canal system: the various monitoring stations and tide gauges, particularly those closer to the sea or major river estuaries. These are the eyes and ears of the Water Board, providing crucial data on water levels, tidal movements, and flow rates. Your role here is to ensure the instruments are accurate, the records are meticulously kept, and any anomalies are reported promptly. You carry a set of calibration weights and a carefully preserved tide chart, comparing current readings against historical data. You arrive at a small, sturdy building housing a series of water-level gauges. The air here is often breezier, carrying the faint, briny scent of the sea. You greet the station attendant, a quiet, scholarly man named Flores, who spends his days meticulously recording observations. He offers a solemn nod. You begin your inspection by checking the various gauges, comparing their readings against your own handheld instruments and known tidal predictions. You're looking for any discrepancies that might indicate a faulty gauge or, more importantly, an unexpected shift in water levels. It's like being a weather forecaster for water, constantly checking the subtle shifts in the hydrological atmosphere. One mainstream historical fact that constantly underpins your work at these stations is the profound understanding the Dutch developed of tidal forces and hydrodynamics. Living below sea level, accurate and timely data on water levels was not merely a convenience. It was a matter of national survival. These monitoring stations were the front line in that perpetual battle against the sea, providing the critical intelligence needed to manage floods and maintain the delicate balance. You are a sentinel against watery chaos. As you observe Flores making his meticulous entries, a quirky tidbit you once heard about old tide gauges comes to mind. Apparently, some early designs involved elaborate floating mechanisms that would trigger small bells or chimes at certain water levels, creating a kind of musical alarm system for rising tides. While your gauges are more practical, the idea of a symphony of bells signaling the ebb and flow of the ocean certainly adds a whimsical note to the otherwise precise science of water measurement. You, of course, rely on your calibrated weights more than any melodic chime. You notice a faint tremor in one of the older water level gauges, a subtle vibration that suggests the mechanism isn't perfectly stable. You carefully adjust a small set screw, and the tremor subsides, the needle now holding steady. It's a tiny calibration, easily overlooked, but it ensures the accuracy of the data. Incorrect data could lead to misjudgments in water management, potentially causing either drought or flood. Your meticulousness is, in a very real sense, protecting lives and livelihoods. It's like ensuring the very delicate scales of justice are perfectly balanced. Historians still debate the extent to which accurate tidal data influenced broader Dutch maritime strategies and exploration. Did a deeper understanding of ocean currents and water dynamics give them a competitive edge in global trade and naval power? You, from your vantage point, can only attest to the local benefits of preventing floods, aiding navigation, and ensuring predictable water levels. But you wouldn't be surprised if this granular knowledge had broader, ripple effects on national ambition. You move to a series of flow rate sensors, simple paddle wheels or weighted floats that measure the speed of the water. You check their free movement and ensure they are clear of any debris that might impede their rotation, leading to inaccurate readings. The consistent flow of data from these stations allows the water board to make informed decisions about adjusting sluice gates and deploying pumps across the entire network. You recall a time when a particularly strong storm surge, an unexpected combination of high tides and strong winds, caused the water levels at this station to rise at an alarming rate. You and Flores worked tirelessly, manually adjusting the emergency overflow gates, communicating rapidly with the main water board office, and ensuring the critical defenses were engaged. It was a rare instance of genuine urgency, a powerful reminder of the relentless forces you guard against. It also highlighted the invaluable human element in an otherwise mechanical system. A scholarly debate that occasionally arises concerns the long-term impact of climate on 17th century water management. Were the Little Ice Age and its more severe winters a significant factor in shaping Dutch hydraulic engineering, leading to more robust designs for ice damage and prolonged freezes? You, as an inspector, are certainly aware of the challenges posed by severe winters, and your protocols include specific checks for ice damage and frost heaves. It's a reminder that nature is not static, and engineering must adapt. You observe a lone fishing boat, its sail unfurled, making its way slowly across the distant estuary. Its passage is smooth, a testament to the predictable water levels maintained by your diligent work and the data collected at this station. It's a quiet validation, a visual confirmation of the tangible impact of your often unseen efforts. You find a small bird's feather, iridescent and delicate, caught in one of the water level indicators. You carefully remove it, allowing the mechanism to move freely. It's a tiny obstruction, easily dismissed, but even the smallest impediment can compromise accuracy. Your vigilance extends to every minute detail. It's like finding a single speck of dust on a perfectly clean lens. Removing it makes everything clearer. As the sun begins its slow descent, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, you complete your final inspection. Your mind is filled with numbers, data points, and the subtle rhythms of water. There were no grand pronouncements of scientific breakthroughs, no dramatic environmental disasters, just the steady, diligent work of ensuring the eyes and ears of the water system remain sharp and true. You head back towards Delft, the gentle lapping of the water against the shore a comforting sound. Your delight in the uneventfulness of your work continues, a profound satisfaction found in the quiet mastery of observation and data, ensuring the unending flow of life in this watery world. So as the last words drift away, imagine the gentle lapping of the canal water against the banks, a soft, rhythmic whisper that invites slumber. Feel the lingering warmth of the day slowly fade, replaced by the cool embrace of evening, a comforting blanket wrapping around you. The distant sounds of the city, once so distinct, now blur into a soft hum like a far-off lullaby. You are safe, nestled in your bed, as the tireless, predictable rhythm of the canals continues its quiet work, overseen by vigilant, if delightfully uneventful, hands. There are no alarms to set, no urgent messages to send, just the steady, unwavering flow of water, a constant promise of continuity and peace. Let your mind drift on this gentle current, carried effortlessly into a deep and restorative sleep. The world outside is calm, stable, and meticulously cared for. There is nothing to worry about, nothing to fear, just the serene embrace of a perfectly uneventful night.